Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. On this evening's agenda, we have the Conservation Commission budget review, zoning board assessors, Heritage Commission, town office, government buildings, meeting with Chief Lund, and then old and new business. Any opening remarks?
No.
John?
Nope. Let me just, to our folks on Zoom, you're muted right now. You do have the ability to unmute yourself, but some of you are muted right now. So just as you come in, mute yourself. If you need to, unmute yourself to speak.
John, can you hear me?
I can.
Thank you. I'll go mute.
I'd like to take a few minutes here to look at the email I came through with the budget sheets and get them onto my spreadsheet.
Been the applicants for the advisory committee there, Scott?
Not yet.
Hey, have you had a chance to see if we can get that booklet on the budgeting for towns?
So the interesting thing is, I actually ordered it, or tried to order it, and you have to have a PayPal account to pay for it. So otherwise, all you can do is print out an invoice and then you have to mail them a check, and it seemed a little ridiculous. So I'm gonna call the New Hampshire Municipal Association, because I gotta believe there's gotta be a better way where I can just put in a town credit card number and be done with it and
Yeah.
download it, because I was trying to get the electronic version as Mark recommended, so that we could
Yeah,
share
that
it.
makes sense.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I'd be happy to pay for it. I got a PayPal if you need one.
yeah, there's gotta be a mechanism to do it, but I couldn't, honestly, they gave me two choices, PayPal or print out an invoice and then, mail in a check, and that just seemed kind of a archaic way to do it, to say the least, so,
But it's sort of the two extremes, right? Modern and archaic.
exactly. So, but we'll get it figured out shortly, and, hopefully we can,
Okay.
make it available to everybody.
Cool, thank you.
So did Heritage not provide them?
They did not respond? And nor did ZBA.
I think I sent you, Walker sent you one with, he's the vice chair, recommended that we just level fund, but we
Yeah.
had not met on,
Right, I saw his recommendation, but I didn't take that necessarily as a board.
right.
I was expecting Monday to.
Well, we haven't met, so,
Well, she's the chair, I just figured she'd have a better
what?
idea of what her board needed.
Really, nothing, David?
Don't bait me.
I thought I should have brought a water. I took a sip.
You can go grab one out of my refrigerator in my house if you want one. Actually, the water bubbler's right there.
Yeah.
If you don't mind small cups, you can get 3 or 4 of them, and you might actually have an actual drink.
close enough.
Yep.
6:08, ready to go.
Yeah.
Mr. Boynton,
Mr. Lage, how you doing?
good, how are you?
Good.
Can you walk us through the budget? Any comments?
No, I essentially put it down like it was last year. This year's been pretty inactive, as you can well imagine, because of the pandemic, so we haven't gone to meetings and things like that.
And other than dues and some travel, there hasn't been anything spent. But this year you still have GIS software listed in there.
That's correct.
Is that an annual cost?
That's the annual subscription price, that's correct. That allows the whole commission to use it.
Just the commission?
Outside people too, obviously. Anyone that wants to log
Yeah,
on to the
yeah.
website.
Do you have any place where you publish how people could log in, i.e. the URL and the password and things? Or how do you do that?
Well, you simply go to gisglue.net and you select New Ipswich and you're in. There's no password.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
You gentlemen have any questions?
No.
Is Sean there, David?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
You wanna turn your,
No, I don't have to.
there you go.
You want to look at him?
Well, keep turning it and you'll
Hey,
get
Bob.
you and him.
No. No. It's not how this works.
That's enough, that's enough.
Any questions from the FAC?
No? Oh, from the FAC?
Yeah. There. Jack, Jeff, is Mark on there?
Yeah, Mark was. He was.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Okay.
with it.
All right.
All set, Bob.
Okay,
Thank you.
you have a good evening.
You too.
No, there he is. There he's back.
So now that we had no other questions, like, will we vote on that now officially, or?
I don't think we need official
Yeah.
votes.
Was I the only
Unless
one that
we're
locked
in
up?
disagreement.
Yep, you were the only one.
Then we just,
Oh, you just keep rolling through?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I can write
We
approved on it
just,
then?
we just approved the conservation committee budget.
And Mike, you might want to shoot the lock off your wallet and get some internet.
I'm as close to the neighbors as I can get.
Are we doing anything with zoning, or is it going level funded?
I-
You still plugging in?
I'm just writing comments here, conservation. I would recommend to level fund it. I'm on board, and if it had come before, that's what I would have
Okay.
gone for. Otherwise, we have to wait until after the, whatever, first Thursday in December is.
Okay.
You agree
Did-
with that, Sean?
Yes, yep.
You want to throw it out to
Was
the?
there no submitted budget for the zoning?
Correct, they did not meet, they only meet once a month, and it's the first Thursday of the month. So, the vice chair had responded to an email to everyone just recommending that we maintain level funding. As a member of the board, that's what I would have agreed with, but, we can either wait until after the first Thursday in December, or just put in the budget, based on level funding.
I'm okay with level funding.
Yeah, if you look at where we are with cost to date, other than training, we're not that far off. And I think The ZBA is looking for new members. If those of you that don't know, but Sanford Morgan passed away, so we need to fill that slot on the ZBA,
I'll wait for you to put that up on the, okay.
please. Well, we don't have the assessors until 7:10, which is almost an hour away. Heritage Commission, I don't have any comments on that because I'm not aware of what their activities are.
I have not heard from anybody in the Heritage Commission in quite a while.
Did this, because I think Mark, Jim, Coffey, Mark Hopkins, Fran,
Jim's not on it anymore.
no?
The only one I know for sure is Fran, and Mark is,
And what about Jason?
oh, Jason.
Yes, you're correct,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So, well, I just heard a knock at the door. Let me see if somebody's here.
I mean, this is something that's nice about having everybody come in
We're just talking about you.
and wait.
I don't know if you're still active member of the Heritage Commission.
Ah, that's what I saw in the minutes, that was coming up tonight.
Evening.
Evening.
So are you here to represent them? I gather not.
I'm sorry.
Well, are we, wanted to talk about it now, or? I'm fine with it, I just was looking at your agenda.
Yeah, on the agenda, we've already gone through conservation, zoning, assessors aren't here yet, and that wasn't until 7:10, so we jumped to Heritage Commission.
Yeah. Well, here's what's happened with the Heritage Commission, as far as I can see, and I'm not, we haven't had a meeting since the lockdowns.
Okay,
So since March, and just previous to that, I was officially appointed, I think, for 3 years. And then we went to a meeting, maybe or two, and our chairman resigned. We never
Oh.
even voted in another chairman. The two ladies that were left and myself, when the lockdown happened, they weren't comfortable with meeting. And that is where it sits.
and that's where it sits.
And I think the general feeling in the Heritage Commission is that, it's too vague. Like, there's no set purpose of the Heritage Commission. And so it became frustrating for Fran. And I could,
Historically, why did we establish it?
The purpose of the Heritage Commission was, we were told in order for them to be able to try and raise funds or get grants, you needed to have that Heritage Commission in place. And at the time, we were talking about the Old Town Hall, I believe.
and that became the Heritage Commission's primary focus for the time that I was on there, was that Old Town Hall. And the former selectman would come to our meetings, and he would update us on the Old Town Hall. But the RSA wasn't really about preserving buildings. It was more, the way I interpreted it, and I told them, it seems like it's more about informing the public of the Heritage Commission. So we met with the Historical Society on several occasions, and I can't speak for everyone else, but it seemed to me like it was the Heritage Commission the Historical Society was already leaps and bounds ahead of us in the heritage of the town. You know, they have so much information, and for us, it did seem a little bit like a no direction. And I don't know what can be done about it. I tried to recruit other people on. Some had some interest, but didn't show up to the meetings.
So Fran resigned, and who was the other person?
Fran didn't resign.
Oh, who was the chairman
It was,
or chairman?
yeah, it was,
Mark?
yeah, Mark.
He was, okay,
He was the chairman. Fran was the secretary.
okay.
Yeah.
So did he resign from the commission, or did he
Mhm.
he resigned from the commission?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was right around the same time that,
When COVID,
no, this was before that.
before that?
It was before that, but around, cause I was appointed or accepted to go on there, but never officially appointed until that one meeting last year when you said, okay, I nominate him for 3 years. That's
thought
when
it was
became
5.
official.
I thought it was at 7 at least.
Wow.
Like I thought lifetime
Yeah,
appointment.
But, so that's my feeling on it, and I don't know what purpose it serves. If there was a clear definition of what purpose it serves and we had something we were working towards, man, I would be all on it, cause I love the heritage of this town.
Well, I just popped up because you had
Yeah.
said that we needed direction on what it is. The RSA, states survey and inventory all cultural resources, conduct research and publish findings, including reports to establish the legal basis for a district in preparation of a historic district ordinance, assist the planning board as requested in the development and review of those sections of the master plan which address cultural and historical resources, advise upon requests local agencies or other boards in their review of matters affecting or potentially affecting cultural and historic resources. This goes probably about 5 or 6.
Hey, Dave, could
7.
you speak up? I can't hear it.
I could, but I'd rather just ask you to read RSA 674:44B.
674-44B, okay.
Yes.
He's gonna check it, you know.
I know. That's why I had to make sure I said :44B.
Yeah, so
But
there,
we
to my knowledge, there has never been an asking for consultation from any board
Yeah.
whatsoever.
And that's why I think what would be advantageous for both is maybe even make an appointment to sit down with the planning board. Say, hey, you know, we are the Heritage Commission and we'd like to assist you in reviewing applications that might be on scenic roads or something to affect our cultural resources. Just that they know then, oh yeah, maybe we should have the Heritage Commission look at this or chime in and give us their opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's one aspect of it, I believe,
Yeah.
if you read further on.
Well, the
That's-
important one is the one I haven't said yet, and that's receive gifts of money and property, both real and personal, in the name of the city or town. And that's how we get the grants. That's how we get the grants. So in order to receive the grants, you needed that.
I believe Fran looked into some of the grants that would be available for the town hall.
Well, there's lots of things that I get through the New Hampshire Preservation Society of grants that are available, and there was one recently, and it was targeted to, I think it was like Temple, Greenville, and a couple of other towns. New Ipswich wasn't part of it, but I'm saying, how can you target a grant? But it was. So I don't know, and you can just log on to their website and sign up for their newsletters and it comes through, but for somebody that's interested in the history, that's a great resource. They put on classes on, you know, saving old barns or they give out grants for, they always have what they call the 7 to Save. And every year there are 7 projects that they select and communities can submit to them. And they'll help to fund it, you know. It's not big dollars, but
Yeah.
they help anyhow. I'll keep quiet.
Do we have a survey or an inventory of our cultural resources at hand today?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Wouldn't that be something we could say should be done? Or
Yeah, maybe the Heritage Commission could do that.
yeah.
Define cultural resources, please.
But it's their first line, you know, survey and inventory all cultural resources. If we don't have one, maybe that should be the primary goal for now.
I'll talk to Fran about starting up a meeting again.
That'd be good. And if you need a selectman's rep, let me know. I'll figure out which one of these two. No. Yeah, just let me know.
So do we want to vote to level fund Heritage Commission?
I think there was extra money in there last year for some books which we bought, and that whole thing, I'm not sure if it was handled properly or what. We only ended up with 2 books.
Yeah, there wasn't much money spent, $55.
What's that?
There wasn't much money spent, it was only $55.
Yeah, but I look at it as, 250 of that is education and travel, and they
Yeah.
probably got quite a bit of that was taken away. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's where the fund, I think that was the line item they used to
Um,
buy the books.
supplies, it looks
Supplies.
like.
Yeah, supplies.
Yeah, so,
So
there is no,
Wanna just level fund it?
yeah, so
the
I vote.
last budget
I vote to
meeting
level
we
fund it.
had, I was like,
Yeah.
why put a budget?
So-
They said, cause you'll lose your line items, and I'm like,
Exactly.
well, then put $1 on each line item, I don't care. We're
Well, I
not
remember
spending-
last year, and I think there was a meeting that was being put on, and I don't know if it was by the OCIP, the Office of whatever, it's by the state, and I think it was being put on in Littleton, and it was something to do with how to, preserve your culture or whatever. And it was, I don't know why they have it in Littleton, but, if I was on the southern border,
There may
it's
not
kind
be
of
one
a
for
track,
that because
but
it's
it
fairly
was
new.
a
Okay.
good
Hmm.
resource,
I don't wanna
and I
ask
think
again,
anybody
'cause
on the
I-
Heritage
Yeah.
Commission
It's
would
like,
have
but
found
to
it
do
interesting.
this, no, but
Matter of
there's,
fact, I think Fran had told
There
me
may
she
be
was
one in
gonna
the
go
back
to it,
that's
whether
marked.
she did or not, I'm not
you may have one in the back that's marked
I
minutes.
know there's been several of them
And you
meetings
just
that.
flip that around and mark it
I've
Yeah.
never
Heritage.
been to any.
Yeah, but,
That's all I'm gonna do.
And I think probably one thing that took the wind out of Fran's sails was when she was told by our former selectmen's that there is no power in the Heritage Commission. It's completely an advisory commission. I think she was hoping that she could have more say. I don't know. That's
well,
just a
say is
feeling I-
advisory, so by all means,
Well, no, but I feel like, like some historic districts have a lot of say over what goes on
Oh,
when you
yeah.
renovate your bathroom.
yeah.
And this and that. And he said you would want to give a heritage,
No, for that you need like a historic district, which is,
something else. It was
Yeah.
another thing that a town can do
yeah,
where you can rule over. I told her if that happens, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
yeah,
I will love
It
you
won't.
instead.
Yeah, no,
it
it's,
won't ever happen.
Yeah.
I can't perceive that.
that's those all
Anyways,
those.
that's my summary on the Heritage Commission, and I will reach out to Fran
Okay, good,
and we'll see what we wanna do.
thank you, appreciate that. So, you, Fran, Scott was just telling me Jim Coffey's not on it any longer.
There was members, but they didn't come to meetings, and so finally we had a meeting and we said, well, if you don't come to so many meetings a year, I guess we're gonna ask you to just
Yeah,
consider whether you wanna be on the group.
Should we,
Joanne just joined right before we shut down.
did she?
Nice.
Yeah, good. Maybe if we
But
can
that's,
add on the
that's what
website,
it was.
Just, okay.
you know, anybody interested. We'll
It's
have it
already on the
posted on,
website.
is it?
Yeah, it's been on the website for 3 years.
Yeah. Bump it up to the front though.
Yeah,
See.
it must be in one of
Yeah.
those things
Might
we,
be.
yeah.
The thing is, yeah, that's, the key to it is a firm direction. The last meeting we had, I said, okay, well, since we're not going after the buildings, maybe we should just start writing pieces about different aspects of our heritage. So I wrote one that's called The Beginning or something. And they edited it and we submitted it. It's on the heritage portion of the website.
Oh,
Alright.
I'll have to be.
And then we were gonna go on to other, try to do it, I think we were hoping to get up to the 1900s in 1 year, and then the next year. go on. But if that's really a direction, I don't know.
Town office, general government buildings, we get time to get to that.
I think so.
Did we decide to level fund heritage?
Yes.
Any questions from the FAC?
No, sir.
No.
Board of Selectmen, Schwenker. Scott, you made, I saw the email that you made changes.
Yeah, it was just a small change.
Can you identify which ones that I didn't get that change in here?
Let's see. That was. Oh, it was dues and fees, which is ends in 560. And the reason for that is we did sign up for an Amazon Business Prime account. Seemed to make sense to do it, but it's $179 a year. But we do enough with Amazon that between all the departments that it seems to make sense to jump on it.
How are we going to discuss salaries? Are we going to do that now or do them all as a group? 'Cause I remember when we did it last year, between that, police, DPW,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so other than my increase, all the others were based on the 3%
Yeah, it's
average.
yeah, it's 3%. There's a difference of $811 between that and the 3%. But that's minimum. I mean, I'm fine. I look at it as I'm fine with that line item, budgeting it as is, and then we can decide where we want to put those funds in a different discussion, so that we don't get the ire of Mr. Coffee.
since when are you worried about the IRA?
I
Well,
know.
it shouldn't be a discussion about individual
Right,
Right.
people per se, other than the assumption is everybody gets 3%. What you actually do in practice
is you dole that out as you see fit with a maximum of 3% of the total salaries.
Right, but we don't want to artificially inflate the budget if we're not going to spend that 3%.
Well, then you better spend it.
And that's kind of the point. So like I said, I'm fine.
Somebody gets 4, somebody
These are
gets
with the
2.
3%.
Those are with
Which
the
line
3%.
item are we referring to?
So if
1110
Right,
or
mathematically,
111.
3%, that's where we are today.
111? Okay,
Correct.
got it.
Yep.
Because I think in other discussions we've talked about, you know, whether all those will be 3s or not.
Right, I think it was based on merit increase,
Some may be,
based on their performance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mark.
some can be more, some can be less.
Exactly.
Right, it's a pool of money, and,
Exactly.
right, so somebody might get 4 because of an outstanding performance, and somebody else might only get 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm,
Yeah, 'cause that was the max, was 4, right?
3.
Oh, 3. That was 4 too.
Well, my recollection was they got a pool of money
equal to 3%.
equal to 3%.
Yeah,
If a department head felt that, hey, this person deserves 4, this one deserves 2,
yeah,
And
and then
he
the
nets
average
out,
is
you-
to 3.
yeah, as long as they didn't exceed that 3.
Yeah, yeah.
What you trying to find?
Probably this one. Last year when we did the hours,
Mm-hmm.
everybody was at 30.
Yeah, so the 2 land use was 30, Roger was 40,
40.
Mark was 16.
Didn't we spend an hour last year trying to determine whether it was a performance review or a cost of living increase?
The performance reviews.
Which should be performance.
Yes,
If it's cost of living, everybody should get
correct.
3%, you know, the figure.
Yeah, so it's 40, 30, 30 for the clerical.
Okay. And you're saying with the 30-30, that's gonna work for the other items you need to get taken care of.
Based on what I know today, yes. Yep.
And in
I
the
think
future,
it's-
and in the future for the next year.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, no, I think, I certainly have a much clearer understanding a year into it than I did when I was new last year. Let's put it that way.
Well, Scott, why don't you walk us through,
Line item by line item?
well, hitting the main,
So I guess the big issue this year is gonna be you know, other than the increase in salaries based on the 3% and the board's pleasure on my compensation. The other issue is that our health insurance is taking a jump, and you know, I base this number based on you know, what it's likely to cost. Roger and I are the only ones that are taking advantage of healthcare in the Board of Selectmen's office. So that's what that number's based on. He's on a family plan, I'm on a single. And I shared the volume of information I got on healthcare plans with you gentlemen a couple of days ago, so.
And I tried to digest it last night.
It's a lot to digest, yep.
It's a lot to digest.
It's
Now,
real simple. I just look at what the cost is and say that plan they. But trying to be a little more rational.
Yeah.
I think if we can
So,
set that aside,
Yeah.
leave it as a placemaker, but come back to it once we can discuss all those different plans.
right, and basically what I did is to get to this number is take the plan we're on today, which has been discontinued, so the one that is designed to replace it.
Okay, that's what that number is,
That's what this number is,
which was 9.
about 9%. So, for Roger and I, it doesn't actually come out to be 9% just because of the variation in the class of plans. But there is, you know, a significant jump in cost, regardless
What
of
would
which.
happen if another employee decided to take advantage of the plan mid-year? Say they lost their insurance and or from whatever other source they had.
We don't have any other full-time employees in the selectman's office.
Got it, okay.
Now, one of the things.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jack.
No, so I'm just trying to figure out, is there a chance that this could take a giant upswing over the year? And you're saying no, because the two people that can do it, and therefore that's it?
Unless, like if Scott said, hey, now I want to go to a family plan, his would have to go from a single to a family, and that would be a jump.
Got it.
And if Roger said he's going to go down to a couple or a single, that would be a decline.
So Scott, you gonna have a family?
No, not at my age.
Question.
Ron, I just,
Man, I had my last one way late.
yeah, well, it would be really late for me. You know, by the time the kid got out of college, I'd be in my 80s, so I don't think I want to do that.
And I don't think we're going to discuss the health benefits now, but one of the things, if you could look into, on there, you gave us, one of the alternatives was going with Health Trust.
Right.
In their program, do they offer the rebate, let's call it, like they do on the dental? If their costs are,
If their costs are below it,
Yeah.
yes, they do.
they do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they would do that, because they're basically a nonprofit, so if they see a surplus, they refund that to the communities.
Okay.
While we're on this subject, I did want to bring up one issue, and that is, for our part-time employees, you know, we budget for them to work every day of the year, basically, that they're scheduled. My thought is that I would like to, because it's already in the budget, I would like to enable us to be able to pay them for sick days and perhaps pay them for, you know, holidays. We don't pay for holidays right now. So if there's a holiday, they lose a day of work, we don't pay them, but all the full-time employees get paid. If they're sick, my concern, especially in a COVID environment, is that they are inclined to come to work sick because otherwise they lose a day's pay.
Now, is there a set number of sick days that people get?
Well, we could base it,
Yeah.
right, so it would be the same as our other employees. I think we get 5 sick days a year, if I'm not mistaken.
See, because, yeah, like, so in the way my company used to do is if you were full-time, you had 5, if you were part-time, you had 3.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't be in favor of that. What I would be in favor of doing, we've got this budget I calced out was for 52 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Just say you get 5 days, period. I don't care
What you use it
for
for.
vacation, you use it for personal time, you get 5 days. I think it's a start.
Okay, so 5 days for sick, vacation,
Yeah.
PTO.
You have
Whatever
5
you wanna
floating
use it for.
days.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And then if they, like now, if they decide that they wanna take, 2-3 weeks off, then, they got 5 paid or 10 without.
Okay, based on their average number of hours per week is what we base it on?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
30
Yeah, so,
30 out.
Okay,
yeah, whatever, yeah.
With that,
I think that's at least a good start.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay. So I'll amend, we haven't quite finalized the personnel policies. You would like me to make that small tweak before we publish it?
Thought it was already published then.
It's not published, we voted on it to accept it the way it's
Yeah.
written.
Yeah.
But before we actually,
But if we don't get it published, we're never gonna.
Yeah. Yes.
So yes, amend it before it's public.
that's my question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, wait a minute,
No.
wait, cause I gotta, my mind has been focused here.
yeah,
Yeah.
Now let's think of other departments. Are we gonna do the same thing for a part-time police officer that maybe works a day a month? Are we going to do that for, transfer station employees, they're part-time?
So,
These types of things now come
Right,
into play.
but I would say then you put the number in at X number of hours then. If that's what you're worried about, then say between, any employee, 25 hours or more.
Whatever, I don't wanna get caught with,
No.
well, you let,
Yeah, well, I worked 16, so do you want 20,
yeah, someone that works
25
5
hours
days a
or more?
week and
Yeah,
then-
exactly,
Yeah, it takes
yeah.
5 days.
25?
and then the question, well, why wasn't it 20? So I just wanna
Be-
know how we get there. And let's agree, this is how we got there and this is what we're doing.
I would say 25 hours. Reason being is I'm looking back, so our prior hours for these employees were 28, 28 hours. That gives us a little leeway, so if we do have to pull in, if, say, not this year, but next year we pull in another part-time clerical, whatever, you decide at that point, are they going to be do the Walmart trick, are they a 24-hour-a-week employee?
Employee now versus appointed.
Right.
What do we do with treasurer?
They're elected officials.
And so that means what?
It means they're elected. They don't follow the
Okay.
same. They don't
deputy.
They don't fall under the same rules.
The deputy would be hourly.
Right.
The assistant town clerk would fall into the same category. Right, they'd be below 24
I'm just trying to think
hours.
what
Yeah.
that position is.
Right. Right. So that's why I'm saying, 25. If you want to go to
Yeah,
28, 25.
Do we have an inventory of the number of hours that every employee, part-time or otherwise, in the town today, that we could look at and see what kind of liability we're setting ourselves up for?
We do know who the part-time employees are, and for the most part, the hours they work.
They might have 1 week where they spike because of a winter storm, and then they'll drop back down or something like that if they're, a part-time highway or or if we do a double day because of holidays at the transfer station. But otherwise, they're pretty well set at a certain number of hours a week.
I would
It's just a little
recommend
worrisome
that.
that if we set it at 5 for everybody, at holiday and sick, it would be kind of nice to know how many people are
But
going to be able to leverage that, and what does that do to our resource?
But like David said, we budget them at 52 hour or 52 weeks. I'm sorry, or Scott said we budget them at 52 weeks. So that those hours are already budgeted. So if they work it, we pay them already.
There's no
it's,
further
it's no
liability.
further financial liability to the town at all.
Okay, so there's no such thing as pseudo overtime. In other words, you budgeted them for 25 hours. If they work on average 25.2 hours over the year, that doesn't change, that can't happen is what you're saying.
Right, because there are hours, if, using an example of somebody working 25 hours, it's gotta work out that when all is said and done, it's below the 25 hours.
Okay, all right. So there's no chance we could slip into a higher rate or have more cost than we anticipated?
Let's not ever say never, but highly unlikely.
And even if you're worried about the overtime piece, if someone takes a personal or sick day, they can't claim overtime if they're still within. So say they take an 8-hour day of sick or personal, they would have to work 48 hours that week, including that day, in order to get overtime. They can't work 32 or 34 and a personal day and collect overtime.
Right, right.
So yeah, there'd be no additional financial impact because the money's already budgeted. Right now, if they don't work it, we just don't pay them. So the town keeps the money.
And for overtime, we have to approve, somebody has to approve the overtime, right? They can't
Yes.
just do it.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, so we're gonna say
20.
25
I would
plus
want
hours.
28 hours.
28?
28 hours.
Okay, I'm fine
All
with
right, yeah,
28 hours.
28.
All right, great, thank you.
Those are good suggestions, Scott.
So health insurance.
Hey, slow down 5 days. Next year, I don't want to have to go.
Yeah.
So we're going to provide them with 1 week's average, or 1 week's.
1 week's what they're hired, scheduled, or because you can't get more than you are budgeted, scheduled for. So if
1
you're
week of budgeted
pay,
pay to use as they want.
Where do we budget overtime?
I think only the police department is budgeting overtime, and maybe Peter
Highway.
and
Yeah.
DPW,
DPW,
yeah,
yeah.
Okay, so if they didn't budget it, they don't have it, so.
right?
right.
Right.
Okay. So the health insurance will come back to on another date. Dental is a carryover.
Yeah, dental and life are the same.
FICA must have.
Yeah, FICA and Medicare are adjusted based on the salaries proposed. Retirement, same thing. The other big issue in retirement is that as of July 1st, instead of the employer contribution being 11.17%, it's going to 14.06%. And will be 14.06 going forward for the next 2 to 3 years. So the number I have in there is based on a blended rate, which is 12.62%. Because 6 months into the year, it's gonna shift to the higher rate based on the state's fiscal year.
So it's 11.17 now.
It's 11.17 now,
Yep.
jumping to 14.06. And that blended rate is 12.62, which is what that number's based on.
So do you have like note parts, like next to the different things, David, in your
What's that?
screen, like that you type into?
What about it?
Like, do you have like a separate? You mind if I take a peek? I always wonder what
This is my
goes on.
private.
I know.
Nobody sees it.
Yeah, yeah, he puts a note in, like
It's a
where you,
spreadsheet,
yeah, and then you just put a
Yeah,
note.
right off to
and
the
then I
right.
put notes off to the side. So
Cool.
next year I can.
Yeah. Like
No, do you put them off to the side, or do you just click and put the note right in the cell?
It's off to the right.
Oh.
I've got a notes column.
Okay, because you know you can put it right in the cell.
Well, maybe you can show me that later.
Yeah,
I've never done that.
yeah,
I only put money in those cells.
yeah, yeah. It's a right click, and it just says new note, and you type in, and it puts a little red star in the corner,
Ah.
and then it lets you know there's a note attached to that cell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I right clicked and I don't have new note as an option.
you're on the cell, and you right clicked.
You try one with a number in it.
Do a little Excel fun, huh?
Oh yeah, I do that. I have to do it when I track.
I think it's comment. You wanna put a comment. It's not a.
you have an
insert
older
comment.
one. Sorry, yours says comment. Insert comment.
Older?
It's edit
Oh,
comment. You
it's
can
a
I
do
just
comment.
bought that this year.
I know, but you have an older version. That's all.
Insert comment.
Insert comment.
It'll be weird that I
See, mine-
put that.
No, see, mine has me two options. It tells me I can put a comment or a note, and one I don't know really what the difference is, but
Does the
one
note balloon it off to the side like Word does?
only like when you hover over it, it
Yes.
shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the note will do the same thing, but one gives you a purple arrow in the thing, and one gives you a red arrow in the thing. I don't know, but so
Thank you. I will try and.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
that way they're not way off to the side. You go, well, oh, that what? How do we come up with that number?
Record storage. We have a budget.
Right, so record storage, we had $1 in there last year. What we ended up doing is when Linda Langille came on board, there was a lot of purging going on in the treasurer's office, so we hired a contractor to do large volume shredding for us. So they sent a shred bin. That's what the $188 was for. And honestly, there's probably gonna be a need to do more of that this year, although other departments did participate in small ways in that process while the bin was here. It's probably good to have an annual setup where all the departments can purge unnecessary files that we aren't required to keep under the record retentions RSA.
I thought though.
Because it frees up physical file space.
Previous years when we had budgeted that record storage, it was to get the records that are downstairs.
I thought that was under Jess's budget, under the.
No, that was for her items.
Yeah.
But we were trying to get it to be more for the, I think, planning board, ZBA, whatever, all those plan documents that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, having gone through that in another town, I mean, if you wanna purge and scan a lot of files, it can be cost of tens of thousands of dollars to get that done.
I don't know that we're talking about scanning, but at least organizing them so that when somebody needs to find it, they can methodically
Yeah.
get there. And I know we hired a company that had come in and I don't know if they were just advisory or if they actually showed what to do and did it to a certain point with Jesse's. And we said, well, should we be budgeting that for the town? And I guess I'm at the same question now, is should we be doing something
Yeah. I guess my other thing too is I know it's another step, and hopefully when it happens, I understand that we can't, like the maps are one piece that's too big, but I know that a lot of times that they can get those, the engineering office can get those scanned in and such.
Mhm.
But our workstation there, if you have take the whole thing, you scan it in, and it becomes a PDF file instead of
Right.
keeping.
So some towns, get a plotter scanner, so they can take the bigger drawings, can actually lease them for pretty short money. But, I don't know that we have the volume here to
Yeah.
justify it.
No, and that's why I said I know, like when people would send us engineering, plans and stuff like that in the planning board, normally we would get an electronic copy as well. I think it's actually part of the required process.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
most, either put it on a thumb drive or.
Yeah. But then like everything else, I'm saying, as they, whether it be permits and stuff like that, if it's on a regular size of paper, that's just get into that workstation and scan it into a PDF
Yeah.
as you're working on the file,
Yeah.
and it's completed, and you file it away into the server.
Mhm.
Just, but
The other question I had on this was the safety committee. What was the safety committee?
Safety committee, I guess, would be what I think you call now the joint loss,
Joint loss?
Right.
Okay.
because we have the Primex, I think it is, and
Yeah.
we're supposed to have
Yeah.
the safety
Quarterly
committee.
meetings,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
doing the reviews, making sure winter reviews, postings, all that goodness.
Well, like the porch light is on at night when you come in so that it's not dark out, those types of things.
Yeah.
I think they were checking safety rails, head clearances.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did have a meeting a few weeks ago. There are some issues that do need to be addressed, but that would probably come out of the building budget.
Maintenance.
So you have a safety committee now, but just
We
it's,
do,
yeah.
just that I wasn't sure what the reason for a budget for that committee, I guess, is,
Well,
that wouldn't fall into some other category.
it was gonna, I think at the time they were talking, if they're going places, the station, if they need latex gloves or something,
Yeah,
hard hat, whatever it was, I think they,
well, I left it in there as a placeholder for now.
Yeah.
just so that I can get my sheet correlated with your new one here.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 info mailings at the very end of the budget.
Right, that was just redundant from last year's budget, or the year before's budget. I think it was the 2019 budget, we put it in the 2020, we're only using one line item. Honestly, I see, it looks like, Roger, the last mailing we did, so we had the cost for the mailing and some of the postage, which was, I think, the 307, fell into the second line item, but it shouldn't, it should all be in top, in one line item, so that's a general ledger adjustment that needs to be made, but it all should be in one line item. But we have 2 account numbers for the same thing, I'm not sure what the history is around that.
And I guess, and how is info mailings different from BOS communication?
Or even notices, BOS notices.
Right.
Well, informational mailing is like what we did for the warrant articles, or the
Okay.
voting, whatever. The notices are,
So those, notices are,
New hires.
job ads.
yeah,
Sometimes you have to run an ad for a hearing in the newspaper. Public hearings, you have to publish in a local newspaper, notice. So that's what that line item is used for. The info mailing, I think, was originally designed specifically for the police station project,
Yeah,
and that's what we used it for last year.
That's what I recall from
Yeah.
last year.
and then what is the communications budget? Is that telephone?
Communications is, yeah, that's telephone, and, internet,
Okay.
All right, let's,
so that's for Comcast.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to figure out the over, like what,
going further up the sheet,
Mhm.
we've been discussing, and I do see that it's increased, for the consulting services.
Correct.
Is that covering, what we've been discussing to get the
Yes,
computer literacy and that'll
Yes.
cover it? Okay.
yeah, that's almost all gonna, you know, right now, I would say it's all for Stone Hill.
Yeah.
But you never know what other things might come up during the year that we need consulting money for, but the focus is gonna be on Joanne.
Record storage, don't do anything with, records downstairs?
That wasn't my intention. My intention was purely for the $250 to have enough there to kind of do a massive shredding of what we could dispose of.
But how do we get the downstairs squared away? And I haven't gone down there in well over a year, so I don't know if it's
Honestly,
been
well,
resolved, if
it
it's still
needs to
status
be,
quo.
so this is a common problem in every town hall in New Hampshire. And that is, they all have basements full of records and bankers boxes, and it is just a huge task to have somebody go through those boxes, and it has to be somebody that is knowledgeable enough and has there is an RSA on what the retention policy is for the state, on what types of documents you have to keep forever, which ones you have to keep for X number of years and you can dispose of, that sort of thing. So it has to be somebody that's knowledgeable enough to be able to go down there and go through those boxes and decide what we have to keep and what we can either turn into another format, like a PDF archive file, have it scanned and archived electronically, or that can actually be disposed of and we never have to worry about it again.
But can we take the first step, and I understand what you're saying,
Yeah,
but if we take the first step of getting it organized first, because then if it's organized, then I think you could go to the next step and say, okay, by RSA, what do we keep?
So I don't know Roger would probably have a better idea on some of the, the financial and personnel files that are down there.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the status is of those. I think the land use files down there are actually fairly well organized. I think when Debbie and Laurie needed something, they knew right where to go to find it. But there's a lot of land use files where you might have six sets of plans on a file. You only need one.
Mhm.
You can probably destroy, the other five and free up file space.
How far back do those records go? How far back do the records down there go?
So a lot of the land use records probably go back decades, and there's a lot of them you have to retain forever because they are property files. So you have to have a history.
But only decades? I mean, the town's been in existence for a couple hundred years. Is there records of anything in the 1800s?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Some of those properties, believe me, we have, as we're researching properties, you have documents in there that literally go back to the 1800s for sure. Copies of deeds from the 1800s.
I don't recall seeing those, but I do
I
know
would
we have a
think
lot
from
of
a
ledgers.
historical perspective,
Yeah.
we should digitize that.
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about a little earlier, is that is a monumental effort. When I was in Wilton, we had Rico, the copy company. They also have a consulting business where they come in and they will analyze your files so they can give you an estimate. And we had them focus on our land use departments, because that's where most of the paper is, quite frankly.
Yep.
And, you know, and you do have large D-size, E-size drawings, that sort of thing. And the estimate they came back for us, just focusing on land use files, was in excess of $30,000 to, you know, categorize, digitize the files that you could. And so it's not a small effort. And that number, based on what I know of what other towns are doing, numbers in $30,000-$40,000 range are not uncommon.
Do we know that all documents currently being submitted and kept are electronically submitted?
So I don't know that for sure. Yeah, Debbie might have a better answer. I know that, I think the planning board requests everything electronically. I don't know about the other land use boards. You know, a lot of things we're doing like with the new building permit software, so a lot of that is being done electronically. People upload files electronically to that application, so.
I think if you could just follow up with Debbie on that, to be sure that we ask that we don't keep accumulating.
But how long do electronic files last?
Until your system crashes, and then hopefully you've got a
Then it's
backup
gone.
of it. No,
But
mostly-
like, I know like CDs have a shelf life, thumb drives must have a shelf life.
I'm talking, it goes on
Yeah,
a
so, I
server.
mean,
Yeah.
This is all on a
you'd have to
server.
pay for storage. You'd have to pay for electronic storage somewhere to make sure it's safe, because
Right,
those,
so things that,
synthetic media will fail over time.
Then you hope you have the paper.
right, so anything that gets put on our server is backed up off-site already. So,
Yeah, but you don't have the capacity to digitize all those documents down there and put it on your server, period. That
Correct.
guarantee you don't.
correct.
So you just upgrade a server, add another one.
You'd need a pretty big disk farm if you're going back to the 1800s.
I don't think we're that far back, to be honest with you. The room's only so big downstairs, there's only so much that fits.
Yeah.
This did come up at a Heritage Commission meeting,
What did
what you're talking about.
digitizing?
All the files down in the basement. And it was like, hey, maybe we could play a part in organizing, but then I think,
Well,
Selectman Hamel said, well, there's probably confidential stuff you can't look at or something, I don't know what he said.
well, there might be some historic files down there that, I'm wondering if there's any grant money out there to preserve those somehow, if they're old enough.
Yeah, I would think anything in the 1800s you could get a grant to preserve.
For some reason, something tells me we don't have documents that old, because I believe Ed Rogers or someone years ago, everything that we had that was old went up to Concord somewhere. State Library or whatever it is,
So state archives.
State Archives.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, so some things do go
Yeah.
that route for sure. I know UNH does some activity at preserving towns' historic documents from time to time as well. You can actually go to the UNH site and you can bring up old town reports from almost any town. They don't have a full library of them. Sometimes you have gaps in the years, but I was actually pretty impressed with how much information, all the way up to current town reports. So that is available.
Include in the book, The
Yeah.
History of New Ipswich.
So, John, Mark needs to be readmitted. He keeps,
His neighbor booted him off again.
yeah.
All right, the
We
way
only
we,
do it on the internet for so long, people. Mark's back.
Jeff, you were awfully distorted. I didn't understand what you said.
I got kicked off. Again.
Jumped up on the equipment leasing.
Okay. So, an equipment leasing, let's see. So, right now, that number is based on what the cost is for our postage meter and our copier. I added a little bit more in there for the copier because as it ages, the maintenance plan on that copier is gonna increase. Conway has already alerted us to that fact.
The sound's all messed up.
It's just you.
But, yeah, so as the copier ages, the cost of maintaining it,
But
goes
if
up.
we're leasing it, why are we covering maintenance?
We're not leasing it, so we
So
own
we
the
own the
copy machine.
copier,
We own the copier, we're paying for a maintenance contract. So the maintenance contracts get adjusted based on the age of the copier. And as the copier gets older, the availability of replacement parts starts to get sketchy. So it becomes a supply and demand issue that they actually, in some cases with copiers, when you start getting over 10 years old, which I believe this one is, but several
Why don't we lease the copier? Why do we own a copier? That just seems odd to me.
So, well, it depends on the situation. There are times where the math works out, where leasing it makes sense. And usually when you do a lease program, they include a certain amount of consumables in the lease based on the volume of printing that you do. But in some cases, for instance, in Wilton, our primary machine in the town hall, similar to this one, the one we had was like 12 years old. Conway was to the point where they couldn't find parts for it anywhere, even scavenging other old machines, they couldn't find parts for it. We ended up buying the new one because it made sense to buy that one outright. However, I also needed copiers in police department, ambulance, and fire. I leased those three because the way the math worked out on the equipment that particular size, the lease was the better deal for us. So we bought, when the math works out, it's kind of like buying a car as well. Sometimes leasing it and then
Yeah.
buying out at the end of the lease is financially advantageous to buying it outright. So just gotta run the
Now,
numbers.
the other thing is that you can get copiers that have scanners built into them. And that may also sort of overlap to the previous discussion.
Well, all, the copier we have now does color scanning.
So it can scan to digital image. It can
does.
scan to a digital.
Yeah,
yeah.
believe me, anything that I can scan and store digitally, I do, because I certainly don't need any
Okay.
more paper in my office if you've seen it.
Right. I was thinking more of preventing additional growth in the paper retention.
Right. Yeah, well, so a lot of the things that we did in the last year, especially we upgraded the Avatar software for, the assessing, and we got the building software. So all of that was part of a process to have us store things electronically as much as we could. And it's worked out well, where we've certainly made a lot of progress there.
Right, computer support, we've added, you've explained why. I'm looking at
Yeah.
our actual cost so far though this year, which is below the budget. Should we just leave that as level funded or even?
Well, my concern on that is that there are power, our UPS, battery backup downstairs. We replaced the battery on it when I got here last year. Those units only will go so many years, even replacing the batteries, and you have to end up buying the whole new unit. And we were concerned last year, Greg looked at it as to whether we should even bother buying a battery for this one or just replace it, which is typically around, $300 to $350. And we decided that the battery was the quick solution for about $70, got us back up and running. So there is equipment downstairs that, quite honestly, is a little, sketchy. It's getting old.
But you're
our
talking
wireless-
equipment, and I'm looking at a title called computer support. That's why I'm wondering.
Well, where the support part comes in is where I have to have Greg come in and install it. So there's hours that go against our block time
Mhm.
to do that.
I understand that.
The rest of that money was really to cover the cost of the additional email licensing that we were
Yeah.
gonna have.
I mean, we can't, I gotta be looking at this, that we can't just be adding to everything, there's nothing here that's gone down with any significance, so,
A few things, yeah.
well, when we go. It's my 2 cents, you gentlemen can chime in.
Mhm.
Leasing, we're up at 1750, and you just explained that one.
Oh, yeah, so like the email, like you're talking about, like instead of anybody that's on like a board using their personal email, like
Correct.
to conduct town business, then
That is
they'll have a
correct.
town email.
So in theory, to protect everybody from the risk of having their personal devices and email account scrutinized under a right to know request under
Mhm.
RSA 91A, is you give them a town email address. And ideally, all of our board committee members, they would all have town email addresses for that reason. I'm trying to step us into, let's get it to the chairman at least, so the chairman can communicate with the rest of us, and the members can maybe communicate with the, through the chairman. And, it starts to minimize the risk to our volunteers of having their devices perhaps scrutinized under a right to know request under RSA 91A.
Why can't people use a Hotmail or a Gmail account for that purpose, and it's solely for that purpose? And why does it cost so much for additional emails? That seems high, given that you can get
Well,
an
it
email
adds,
for.
so each email account adds about $5 to $6 a month to our subscription costs from Microsoft.
I don't know, being on the ZBA, we don't communicate other than, are we meeting? And it's, to Laurie or Debbie, there's,
So
and I'm thinking,
so I
by
have-
not providing it, you're more apt to minimize that communication that.
So my concern is, our board members are volunteers. They're trying to help out the community. They're offering a service to the town and opening them up to, and again, their personal devices, which, so if they communicate using their phone, their tablet, their laptop, their desktop, all of that can actually be seized and scrutinized under a right to know request.
Right, and here I am, I'm a selectman.
Yeah.
I have an email address.
Right?
I get an email during the day,
Yeah.
and how am I gonna respond? Run home and type it? I go to my phone and I respond. I
Right,
use my email
Right.
address, but you're right, if somebody wants to have it scrutinized, my company phone now falls under,
no, but I think you're covered because all records as long,
we think we're covered.
yeah.
And that's,
I'm just saying.
Well, are you saying that if I send you, like I sent an email last week, that suddenly opened up that email account to public scrutiny?
Yes, it
Correct.
did.
but you sent it to our, as far as the board goes,
Yeah.
our town emails, and that's why that was set up, was so that we weren't using our personal emails, because we do a lot of correspondence with residences, with Scott, with departments, that we want that kept separate. But if you use the analogy that you're opening up people's personal devices, well, you are and you aren't, because even though my phone has my town email address, any lawyer that says, well, we need copies of everything on your phone, because that's where your email is, I'm sure could technically get everything off the phone.
Mhm.
And having been on the planning board, the ZBA, conservation, I've never seen a request from anyone to say, hey, we should have a town email. Main justification is, don't communicate decisions via email. And if you do it via your own personal email, and somebody wants
Well,
to,
I was trying to understand my liability I understand what you're saying. You guys have town email addresses. I don't. So I'm just trying to find out, did I just open myself up to a potential exposure of my personal email? If so, I'm just gonna get another email account and update everybody with my new one and leave that for the business of the advisory.
You would be susceptible if you were having conversations with other members of the boards and making decisions.
Okay, you're saying because I don't make decisions, I'm not susceptible.
What else are they gonna ask for? That's what they wanna see, are what your communications with other board members and decisions have been.
Well, it's an interesting issue because we have a lot of people that volunteer, and whether or not it's probable, it's possible. And that's where my concern is.
Right, so go all the way down to even the volunteers, coaches on baseball, basketball, they communicate with parents, whatever. It's where does the line get drawn? I'd advocate bringing that down to probably 16,000.
The computer support? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
I would at least level fund it.
Yeah, 16,000, I don't think will cover our costs.
No, I would,
14.2 now.
Yep, and we're going to be getting invoices from CADNet.
but that's 14.2 as of 10/26. It was almost a month ago.
What was the last date we had here? Is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would vote to level fund it
17.5.
at 17.5.
Good with that.
Do you have the breakdown for how much additional it'd be, Scott, for the emails for the chair people?
I didn't break it down by each, but you can figure if it's $6 a month, 72 a year. If we have 10 people that we want to give email addresses on, there's $720 right there.
I think it's a wise thing to do, at least for the chairperson that's going to be communicating directly with us, to give them that email address.
Just
I don't
how
know
many
everything,
emails have
the
you
ins and
gotten
outs.
from a chairperson,
I get various emails from the different boards.
different boards.
Yeah.
So now you gotta
Committees.
follow those people too. Why just the chair?
Yeah, I mean, no offense to, I'm not a
Yeah.
chair.
Yeah.
Well, ideally it'd be everything, but I figure we were just taking steps towards
That was my
correcting,
thought, is just
righting the ship.
The ship hasn't gone anywhere. That ship has been going full steam ahead.
So let's keep it full steam ahead.
Why
Right.
not? You know what the saying, if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it, something like that?
So-
Kick it a second time.
So hey, maybe we can throw a light bulb on it when it happens, right? See what happens. All right.
It's always helpful to have a life preserver just in case your boat does get a hole.
That's a requirement.
Hey,
Make
we'll-
sure you
we'll-
have that life preserver.
We'll get the life preserver when it happens. All right.
So for another 10 grand, we can add it in there, Sean.
We're at 10 grand.
He's only, $1,000 is only for the chairpersons of the boards.
So you'd be in favor of adding 10,000?
No, I wouldn't be, but you're saying you would be,
Yeah.
right?
No, I'm not sure. It'd be good to look at the ins
Well, how
and
many
outs of
coaches
it.
are in the rec league?
No, there's a lot. Yeah.
Look, if you don't do it, the very least you should do is communicate to everybody that is volunteering and is using their email, that there is this existence of a potential subpoena for their data. And if you don't do that, then we're remiss for not giving people a heads up. There's easy ways to handle it. I'm gonna go get another email account free, and I'll use that from now on. And that's fine. That doesn't put the cost on the town, and we can all do that. But you should inform everybody so that they're aware that that risk is there. We don't have to pay for it. People can take their own actions to protect themselves if they choose, but they have to be aware of it. I wasn't aware of this.
I lost Mark again.
Do they disappear on their own?
He lives out in the boonies.
So it's just an internet
yeah,
connection?
he's one of those people that Mr. Smith's trying to help out.
Okay.
Who's trying to help me?
Not you. He's trying to help Mark.
Communications, I know this has been discussed previously, and I'm sure it falls under the others, but can we somehow make it a focus to see what we can do with our communication systems for cost benefits?
Yeah, because a couple years ago we thought we were saving money, and it's cost us more money every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. And I'm expecting when the other department heads come in, they're gonna
Yeah.
reiterate it again. Have we topped off, do you know, for oil for this year?
Topped off?
Yeah,
You?
the tanks and whatnot.
I don't know for sure.
No discussion on line 612, David?
612, I saw that one. I was waiting for you to bring something up. Hate to be the sole. I don't have an issue with it.
Sean loves everybody, so I know he's got no
Yeah.
issue with it.
Yeah.
Let's show some appreciation.
Yeah, Sean hates it when people don't like him, so
Yeah.
I know he wouldn't say anything.
What was the webpage?
I was just thinking about it's too bad because we can't do like the cookout. I heard there used to be a selectman cookout where the selectmen would go down and cook for the workers like in the warm
Are you
weather
sniffing
or something.
something?
Yeah.
Hey, that's what everybody's telling me. I don't know if that's what they want or what.
Did I tell you about the time that they sold them the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yeah. I think someone's
I'm ready to
calling
do it.
Somebody's kidding you, Sean.
No.
Do we know that we're getting an increase in that website hosting?
Well, we're already over budget for this year. We're overspent.
No, the
another
Okay,
budget.
so we budgeted 21.
We're at 2409 as of the end of October, so we've got 2 more months
Okay, something's.
to pay, so I'm expecting that it's gonna be.
Was there like an increase during the year sometime or?
I don't know if there was a stated increase. I'm just looking at the trending based on the invoices we're getting from Civic Plus. And Civic Plus bought a VTS, so I don't know whether they changed the terms and conditions of the agreement when that happened or not.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the detailed report on that.
I would, however, I'm interested in, since we're talking about all this crazy stuff, and I see the drinking water at $350 a year. The tap water is free.
Not all our locations have potable water.
Okay. So it's like there's other machines, like the,
Yeah, and we looked at it, and I looked at it a couple years back on buying the machines outright,
mhm,
and then all you're paying for is the water. Because the reason it's $350 is that includes the rental of the machines.
yeah,
And the issue you have is that if you're own the machines, then you have to make sure that someone is going in and cleaning those machines, or if you have a problem with it, because if they're not cleaned, they get mold inside.
Yeah.
The lines aren't clean, you know. So with the
They have to do
system we
maintenance
have,
twice
they
a
do
year.
maintenance
Yeah.
at least twice a year with them.
yeah,
So it ended up would have cost us, or it could have cost us bigger issues.
mhm.
Um,
And that's
that's
not
what it
just
is.
for that one, because 350 is inexpensive. Like I don't.
right,
think
no,
the
that's just
other-
for here.
Yeah.
But I think we get kind of a larger deal because we've
Oh,
got
other
them here.
places
We've got
get
them
the
at the fire. I think we've got DPW. We've got them at the police station.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 350 isn't bad because that's your machine plus all your water jugs.
Yeah. Yeah, we own ours, and I'm pretty sure we go through more than that
Yeah.
in a year.
You don't just bring the jugs down. It was like $2. You refill them at Monadnock.
Might even be cheaper. I don't know. Yeah, we did that for a little while, and then it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nicer complaining about the guy not coming on Monday instead of trying to figure out the delivery dates week to week.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, I don't think the water at the fire station is completely potable. I mean, it's not bad, but,
Mm.
I mean, you want them having clean water for
Yeah.
drinking.
We had gotten rid of the bottled water because we were getting tired of the whole thing. And then the kids were like, I don't think we drink enough water. Like, we won't drink it out of the taps.
Yeah, we just have.
They want to go over to their cup and get the ice cold water. You
We
know?
just have a pitcher,
Yeah.
pour it in, costs us a couple bucks, you buy the 3-pack charcoal filters.
And that becomes, oh, who didn't fill up the pitcher the last time?
Oh, I already know, I always know who
I
does
know, well, you do.
Yeah, it's like really? Yeah, I like to fill it up.
Yeah.
You gotta get your water tested and show your kids all the minerals and all the stuff that's health benefits for them in
Exactly.
their water.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing wrong with ours, we have a high pH. Is the issue with ours, so it looks like it's sediment, which it does, but it's the pH that sets it off, and then the iron shows up more in your water. So. No, the thing, I actually like the way my water tastes. Especially in the wintertime, it gets a little salty from the runoff.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have to salt it when I'm cooking pasta. You just all set?
What'd you guys come up with?
We took off that. Well, we're not completed with it, but everything else we're fine with.
I was gonna come back to the
Top
the
couple lines.
healthcare and
Yeah.
What did we end up with on line 433?
17.5.
Did we lose Gene?
Mark's back again.
Oh, was she?
I'm
Here
assuming
for-
she was here for the assessors.
I don't know if she was just stopping in to say hello. That's,
That's a little, oh. Why don't we start general government buildings, and then if she does come back, we'll stop and.
okay.
Just looking back, are you really comfortable with the 2750 for the webpage?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Only reason I was asking is, I mean, at 2409, that's $240 a month, which is going to put another 480 into that, which would actually bring us up to almost $2,900. So if you're comfortable with 2750 based on what you had,
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah,
make
'cause
sure.
There's another one in there that's a one-time charge of 194
Okay.
for the year, so. From one of our providers.
Okay.
So now we're on to GGB.
These reports are pretty cool.
Hmm?
The reports, the facility reports.
Yeah.
Man, I wasn't aware that these were available. That's pretty. Who went through and did? Was this Mark or?
So Mark's input, Mark and I sat and went through each one of those, and I created that spreadsheet for him last spring sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And once we, we kind of estimated the numbers. I mean, in some cases we have quotes from vendors, in other cases we're just using our general knowledge of things,
Yeah.
estimating the cost of getting some of this work done.
But are any of these numbers in the
I'm
budget somewhere or?
I'm confused.
They are, so,
I'll-
Yeah, some of these,
Yeah.
as I had been reading, and I'm just,
so basically, there are some things that are gonna come out of the capital reserve fund. It's the type of expense that we wouldn't put in the operational budget. But what I did was I identified those things that I felt would be under the operational or maintenance budget for this upcoming year. And I totaled those all up, and that's how I got to the
19 or 22.5.
well, 22.5, which is really if you add up all those items that are highlighted in blue on those spreadsheets, that say operation and maintenance budget in the comments, those come to 17.5. I put another 5,000 in there just for kind of the miscellaneous stuff that we
Let's-
do.
go through this,
Yeah.
Okay.
because this is
Yeah.
why,
I was just
I
trying
was
to get
trying to
something
go-
like.
no, but I
some
mean,
background
same
and-
thing, I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
where numbers came from.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start out right at the top, and I'm
Yep.
confused about the salaries.
Yeah,
Because my notes from last year state that that is not Mark's salary or his pay rate. His pay rate's higher than that
So, it
where are
was,
you
but,
seeing the
so,
pay rate?
on the backup.
There's this sheet too.
right, so, we
Yeah.
budgeted
Okay,
a higher amount.
all right.
And then in discussions,
We gave,
We ended up
okay, cause all I have is
doing
what,
less than what was budgeted.
okay, cause that's my thing, I have the budget number of what we had,
Right.
and one of them we did pay that number, and I guess the other one we didn't.
Yeah, and
See, in my numbers,
I could
in my
explain it to you, but I
notes,
don't know if on TV is the,
Mm-hmm,
or on Zoom is the place to do it.
right.
have two different numbers, none of which match.
Well, I have, my number matches the budgeted number. What I had for what we budgeted, and I have
Total
what we figured
dollars.
out, total dollars,
Right.
matches.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. When I'm looking
The actual rate
at that time, what we said these
mhm,
two people are going to get.
doesn't match, and
They
that's
didn't
why,
match.
so that's why I just, I mean, I'm fine with this number,
Yes,
but
yep.
I'm fine with the number given, I just couldn't remember what the,
It was, so it's based on what we ended up settling on.
and that's fine, I
Plus
don't,
3%.
I don't have that written down somewhere, so
Yeah.
that's why I got lost on that. I was like, I'm looking, I was like, what? But I'm fine with the number that's presented on that line item, because it works out to the same number of hours that I have written for last year, as far as hours per week and things like that. So,
Okay, so you're good with the
custodial number,
numbers that are there?
yeah.
FICA, Medi, my first question was building. And we had budgeted 5,000 this year. It appears we didn't spend anything, and we're gonna budget again. I just wanna know where,
So, Mike, again, a question for me, because I don't
Yep.
know what the difference between GGB building and GGB maintenance is. What's the $5,000 intended for?
the my notes from last year was to replace the retaining wall in the back here.
Okay, so that's,
GGB maintenance to me is when you're getting a can of paint to touch up something, or you're fixing the carpet. The GGB building was something specific.
okay. So then, I need to probably move some of those numbers around.
And that's what,
Between
I
those
was trying to
line items.
correlate your
So-
color coding here, which didn't have a legend, but the notes on the sign, it took me forever to figure out CRF. I'm like, what the heck is, and it dawned on me what it was. So
Yeah.
I got that one covered. But like, when I was adding up these numbers, it wasn't matching here. So then I'm saying he's doing something different, and that's why
Right.
we talk about it.
Right, so, and what I did on the, as I said, on the, what ended up going into maintenance was all the things that were scheduled, that we're anticipating on doing in 2021, that come under the operational or maintenance budget, which are the lines highlighted in blue on that spreadsheet, for the most part. We add those up, those come to 17.5. I put another $5,000 in for the can of paint stuff, the, kind of the miscellaneous things, because if you look at how that budget is spent, I mean, we do it $100, $200, $300 at a time on a trip to Eltate's to get light bulbs, get a light fixture, get a can of paint, get some lumber, that's kind of how that line item gets eaten up. It's usually a bunch of small transactions. This past year, we haven't really had a big event like replacing the retaining wall or something like that to look at. So
No.
that's how I kind of arrived at that number. But now that I understand what the building number is, some of those things might belong in that line item. Same money, you're just gonna move it to a different line item.
Help me out, Scott. I don't wanna put you
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Like, if I add up all of the blue,
Right.
so that would be what is in
So if you.
building or maintenance?
So it's in maintenance, this is all maintenance. So if you take anything that in the notes says ops maintenance.
Yep,
And if you look at the date, it's scheduled to happen sometime in 2021. If you add all those up, that comes to 17.5. And again, I put another 5,000 in for kind of the miscellaneous maintenance, knowing, quite frankly, that we probably spent more than that on those miscellaneous items this year. But if we're gonna try to control the budget and get some of the bigger projects done, then some of that other maintenance might have to wait till next year.
Well, this is where I'm
2022.
going off, because I'm only
Okay.
adding up the blues
Right?
to 12.5.
Yeah, no, it's, I'm pretty sure it's 17.5.
Well, there's one with question marks in it. Did you just maybe throw some
Well, if
money
there was
at
no
it?
dollar
Well,
value, I don't
right,
add it in.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
didn't,
the
yeah,
mold remediation.
right, I have no idea, you know, I have no idea.
So you didn't add anything for that.
Correct. Maybe I did. Actually, let me put it
No,
this way.
that adds up to 11.5.
No, this is, this is the current spreadsheet, so you just complete this up today, okay?
I've got 12.5.
You're at 12.5 too? Did I miss something?
I think all I have is 11.5.
Way in the back, there's another one for a front door on the old schoolhouse.
I'll get there.
There it is. 12.5.
Yeah. 12.5.
It's twice I missed.
You must have gone to Conan.
No.
Well, you're right, I only come up with 12.5.
I'm wondering if you did the 12.5, added the 5, and then said, oh, I gotta add 5 to that.
I must have. I must have, because I know I came up, and I went through, what's scary is I went through this like.
Every time you add another couple $1,000.
That doesn't seem like enough.
So then it would be 12.5 plus 5, so I guess it would be
17,
17.5, which would be
17.
level funded. Or actually less than level funded.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
we could
there,
change
you took some money off.
Is that how you look at it?
So,
Well, no, because it's less than last year. So it's 2,000 less.
so 17.5 is the number, 12.5 plus the 5 for miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jack's got his hand up.
Get him on.
He's there.
Oh, he's there? Jack?
Jack, do you have a question?
We're on the government building?
Yeah, you had your hand up, so I didn't know.
No, I'm having a keyboard problem.
All right, I'm going to lower your hand then. Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you for asking.
So then someplace I saw you have
Yep.
security cameras and whatnot for this building.
Correct.
And where is that line item?
So,
Well, that's out of the capital
that'd
reserve.
be
right?
capital reserve fund, so it's not in the budget.
That
I'm not-
wouldn't come out of,
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that's how it's
Yeah.
noted.
yeah, but
That's,
yeah, that, the capital reserve fund that was set up was for building maintenance. And I don't think security cameras are gonna fall into maintenance you're adding, so
okay,
if it's something we want to do, then it should go in budget.
okay.
You agree? No?
But so there's currently we have no security cameras here at all?
Not in this building.
Okay. So yeah, it would be a new thing. So yeah, it couldn't,
Right.
you know, the initial purchase couldn't, but then if we had to replace them or repair them, then yes, it could.
To me, that's, I don't even think you can on that, because it's not the building. The building is what you're doing. You'd say, you go and buy a new TV.
But I would say anything that helps maintain that building, and if security helps maintain the building, I'm just, so you're saying you want to put that 3,000 into a line item?
It's not 3,000. That security there is our annual
Oh,
subscription, let's call it.
okay.
The
But
cameras is
someplace
at
I read in your
7,800.
sheets here, you wanted to add cameras
Oh.
and whatnot.
The town office sheet.
I guess first
top
discussion
line.
is because we've never discussed it. Scott's bringing it up.
Yeah.
Is it something that we need? And I think you had a thing in here about Chief Carpenter had advocated for it.
Chief Carpenter has advocated for it probably 2, maybe 3 times since I've been here. He believes that it needs to be done. I don't know whether he's recommended it in past years or not, but he feels that it's, in this system, he and I worked with Monadnock Security when they came over to do the analysis of that. And, it's a newer type of system so that literally the police could, even on their phone, on a cell phone, could monitor any one of the cameras, and they could see what's going on in this building if they had to. The concern is we have some events coming up that could stir some issues, so we're a little concerned about that.
Some events.
It's for a non-public discussion, but, Tim just felt that it was good for several reasons, not just an external threat. It also helps monitor internally what's going on in the building. He thinks there's some advantages there as well. And this is a combination of, I think it's a couple of exterior cameras and I think it would be a total of 5 interior cameras and the system that goes with it.
I guess I would personally have to have a better understanding of how the security cameras inside are gonna help. In my opinion, I'm thinking security, as long as we have a connection to the police, which we have in place now for, let's say, operational purposes while the office is open, is good. Do we need security for after-hours recording?
So it is beneficial as far as if there was a break-in, that it would help identify and potentially prosecute somebody. However, the primary goal is to protect the people in the building while we're here. So you would have one in the back hall downstairs, looking at the back door. There'd be a couple here so you could see down the hallways here. There'd be something in the lobby, et cetera. And he wanted 1 or 2 outside, looking toward, the parking lot area, et cetera. That's what the proposal is based on. Tim could probably do a better job explaining what the advantages are and why he feels it's necessary. He feels it's long overdue.
I just don't understand how a camera down a hallway or in a room is going to, somebody comes into your selectman's office,
Right.
okay, they're a threat.
Yep.
I'd be more concerned that you have the access button to hit to
And we
notify
do.
police,
And we do.
and we do.
Yeah.
I don't think that if we had a
So
switchboard that was monitoring things, then I could understand it, I just don't understand how a camera would help.
So you hit the police panic button system that we have now, they can immediately look at a monitor and see what's going on inside this building. So it helps them prepare for whatever threat is here before they arrive. I mean, I think that's the, the kind of the preventive or preemptive advantage that you have. The other side of it is, it helps identify if there is an incident here, it helps identify who the perpetrators are for prosecution later. I mean, it's twofold.
I don't know. I mean, it should, sounds like one of those things, we'll get the life preserver when it happens, right? Then we'll look
Well,
into buying
No, we're gonna put bulletproof glass all the way around the
make a
facility.
bubble.
So, it's, it's one of those things that, it's like when you walk into Dollar General, I mean, they have cameras, looking at their facility inside and outside all the time. I mean, that's what most businesses do today, because the threats are real.
I think cameras at Dollar General are not for the. It's more for inventory control,
Well,
probably.
well, it is, but that gets back to,
Yeah.
I mean, there are armed robberies in retail outlets and things like that. There's a reason why they have the cameras. It is.
I can definitely see the value in it, like if something does happen, then you have, like you said, you'd have that inside intel, if people were in the building. And at the same point, if something's going on outside the building or there's a break-in, like you have all this footage to try to figure out who is doing that, like that.
Yeah.
Has there been any issue, like, cause I know like when we looked at upgrading some other ones, like over at SVAS, they were having specific issues going on,
Mhm.
like, but we have nothing to base it off of because they were getting increased activity in a certain area of their parking lot and they couldn't see, like, cause the quality was so bad of the old cameras
Right.
that they decided to upgrade them so they could actually see what was going on when nobody was around.
Well, and Tim alerted me to at least one incident in this building where we're having some camera footage for internal controls, let's put it that way. Probably would have been beneficial at one point. And again, we're probably not the forum to discuss it in much more
Mhm.
detail than that.
Mm-hmm.
And also line 441, I don't think we're in the forum to discuss that either. You forwarded information regarding the
Right.
negotiated lease
Yeah,
for the
I mean, those
police, and I think that that's gonna be,
I mean, the numbers are the numbers on that one.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
Gary is trying to,
Jack, did you have your hand up again, or is it an accident?
Ignore it. I hate to say that, but ignore it.
so what do we do with this budget?
Circle back on it,
Okay.
because I'd like to hear the chief's input, so when he comes in for his other budget, I'd like to hear his input on the cameras. I'm not opposed to them, I see, but at the same point, I'd like to know a little more about, I don't know, is 5 cameras necessary, or could they be placed a little differently, kind of thing, I don't know, so.
And I know we have them at other areas in town. Do they work? Does anybody check them? Those are types of things that I think.
Right, and that's something we can get from the chief to maybe some clarification, like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming Dean had to leave.
Looking at their budget, maybe the mean, obviously, they're not here to answer the questions on it, but the assessor's contract jumped up huge. Now, is that something that's normally paid for out of
Warrant
a
article.
warrant article?
Right, and that's why I don't know why they
Why they put it into their
lumped it
budget?
together.
Yeah, okay, I thought the same thing, I thought they tried to do that on another year too, and we was like, no, that's a warrant article.
Well, I had to go back to the,
Are you talking about the assessor's budget?
Yes,
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
right, if you look at, I went back to last year's warrant, and we had a separate warrant article
yeah,
for that, and it's pretty much to fund, there's a capital reserve account, and we fund that account and use that for the
yearly,
annual.
right.
Yeah,
And we're on a 2-year of a 3-year or 2 out of 5 or whatever, I mean, yeah.
I think we might be back to year one now, didn't we? do
No,
a full one
they-
this year?
They said they're on year 2 of a 5-year contract for Sanssouci
But that's the
utility.
contract.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, but the assessment. I
Assessing
think
for
this
general
year was the
assessing.
Fifth year,
Yeah.
now we go back to 25%.
Okay.
Uh,
So yeah, that the rest of their budget I didn't have any questions on, but I had a question on why that jumped up and why it was lumped in. So other than that, I did not have an issue with their budget.
Can someone explain why we have this huge contract? We just finished doing an reassessment, because that's the part I can't quite put together.
Because their
Why? Go ahead.
contract, every year, for 4 years, I think it is, that they do like approximately 25% of the town, a reassessment.
Okay.
And then the 5th year, they do the entire town, is my understanding of how it's been. But we fund that via a warrant article, not out of budget. And that warrant article is part of the funding of the capital reserve account.
But if this isn't a contract we've already undertaken, how can we put that in a warrant article and have it subject to being rejected?
Because all contracts and agreements with any vendor is subject to town vote approval. A board cannot commit the town,
So we didn't, I'm sorry.
the board, no one can commit the town for funding that has not been approved by the voters. We can have a 3-year contract in place, but say year 3, the voters don't fund it, then that contract becomes null and void for that 3rd year.
Okay, I didn't see that, but in the contract, we have that ability to terminate the contract unilaterally?
That's state law.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
What I'd like to see from them, though, is what that figure actually should be, and that we need to, when we do the allocation for capital accounts.
Yeah, so we know
do
what,
that.
right, because that's, I know we looked at that a few years ago, it's like, okay, if we're putting this in, but we're gonna take this out, are we gonna put ourselves in the hole if we don't bump up the number on that, capital reserve account? So-
And, I thought that account was kinda, yeah, that account. Last year, I think we allocated 15,000 to that account. If my notes are correct here, and the ending value of the prior year,
That's a revaluation?
yeah, it's the revaluation capital reserve.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
end of 19, it was at 45,377.
Correct, correct. And then we added 15 to that, so now you're up to 60. And if we paid that, I think it's 12 something for some reason. I think we should fund it again though this year, but not at the 15.
Well, we'd have to see what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the actual cost is.
Well, it wouldn't be the actual cost, cause if you have money sitting there that you just,
No, I know, but you don't wanna overfund that.
correct,
Yeah, we put
Right.
15 in last year,
No.
yeah.
but then I don't, I'm trying to see where we put that out.
Let's see, what did we get? Let's see. Last year we had 9240 for the budgeted portion. And then for the cyclical, it looks like it would have been 25.4. I had 19,000 for the assessing company, and then we had an additional 6,400 for Sanssouci that does the utilities
Mm-hmm.
assessing.
And I'm looking, I think I just happen to be looking at this. I think there's another GL error on, it looks like, tax maps got charged to contract services in the GLs. Because tax maps are at 0
Yeah.
and contract services are over $2,070. It's almost an exact amount. Yeah, it was 19,000, which was the warrant article. Yep.
Did we do it as a warrant article or under the capital reserve funding? You know, like when we do police crews,
Yeah, well, I think it has to go in the warrant article that, to expend out of that capital reserve, because it's not an expendable trust.
okay.
So the 19,000.
So we funded one and took out
Out
through
of-
the capital reserve, and then we took it out as a warrant article.
Yeah,
Okay, and what did we take out?
it says 19,000 for 2020 contracted costs were 28,240. There was general assessing of 6,240,
Okay,
pickups of 3,000, so that's a 9240 that we put in the budget.
was that 6,000 something though for Sanssouci, then,
It says provide certified New Hampshire assessors $80, 80 hours in-house.
right? And then you keep going down again, and that totals 19,000, and I had a side note, plus 6,400 for Sanssouci. Cause Avatar doesn't do the utilities.
I'm looking to see. $19,000 is M&N, 6,400 for Sanssouci, for a total of 25,400.
Right, that's what I had, was 25.4.
Yeah, so that must have been the actual warrant article, was 25,400. Because all we put in the budget was a 9240, which is the 80 hours of assessing and the 100 from the previous year
Well,
for
what did you
pickups.
have down for the warrant article? Did you have that there?
I think it's a total. I would have to assume it's a total of that dollar amount, which is a 25.4. But let me
Why
see.
am I thinking Sanssouci?
It's paid
did we-
differently.
Yeah, well, no, because I don't think we had that in there, and did that come out of the legal?
That was for a different reason.
Different
Yeah.
reason, okay.
So Sanssouci, with Sanssouci, the Fairpoint,
Is that illegal?
PSNH,
Yep.
that's the legal piece.
Yep,
And then there's Sanssouci regular assessing services for the utilities.
so do we have an accounting for 2020 that we paid Sanssouci, the 6,400? And
Let's
Avatar or M&N, whoever it is, the,
So M&N, so let's see, so everything right now, and this is through today, that's charged to contract services is for M&N assessing totaling $13,330.
so we'll be getting another bill to bring that up to the 19,000. But does that give you the value of the warrant article?
So this is the warrant article, this is just the operating budget. I don't think I have the detail on the warrant articles here, just the, yeah, these are just operational
Just, I
budget.
can get it right here, I'll go online.
Roads, fund capital reserves and
I think it's
expendables
article,
costs.
I think it was 12.
Household hazardous waste, dissolution, regional health, fire department, ambulance, total service, disconnect, disability, police station. There is not one.
Yeah, we funded 15,000 to the revaluation.
Yeah, but we didn't pay anything out.
Did.
Cause it's not, cause I just looked in the, there's not a warrant article for it in the budget either, like in the actual budget expenses.
I recall that might have been missed last year. I think they intended to have a warrant article,
And they didn't.
and it didn't make the warrant.
So I'm almost wondering, is that the issue, or do we have, is it budgeted so that we can pay it out? Back pay? Cause that'd be the 25.4. No, so let's see. We have 49.55 minus 92.40, 31.715. Yeah, it's about the same amount. I wasn't able to print the contracts. That's why I don't know what the contract said. So.
Who was the one before? It was, this must have been in 2019. We did the 51,000 for the assessed values. That must have been when we did the full town one.
Mm-hmm.
But if we, what warrant article were you showing that under? The expenditures?
So, that was, That was under account number 312. Under
Okay, that's a count, okay, it's not allocated by,
No.
okay. Can you check with the assessors to get the budget revised so that the revaluation number comes out of that budget number and goes into a warrant article that they should be proposing to expend it from the revaluation capital reserve fund?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jim was of the opinion that it belonged in the operating budget.
Why would he put it in a budget if we have the capital reserve fund?
You'd have to talk to him.
Didn't know if he gave you an earful or not.
Yep, no, he felt instead of doing a warrant article for it, it should just be in the operational budget.
Any other items?
So,
Old and new business? If we have nothing else on the budget? Anyone else have any comments on the budget?
The only thing I'm looking on the assessor's budget, what did we leave for line 312? The contract?
We've left that, we haven't done anything with their budget till Scott's going to check with them to find out the value that appears to be included in their budget for the revaluation. To pull that out, have them write the warrant article for that funding to come out of the capital reserve fund.
Yep. And by the way, that's $34,555. That's still, that leaves $6,400 in there. Are we leaving that? Would we leave that as well? That's the
Yes.
value of the other contract.
Well, it's more of the value of their service to perform the annual assessing. You know, when people ask for, not a rebate, but
An abatement.
an abatement, they go
okay,
through
so-
that
so the
process.
And we leave that $6,400 in there for that?
Correct. But I think it's
That's
more
what
than
I'm
that,
putting in there
because
now.
it's more than that, because the 6,400, I think, is just the cost for the assessor that does the utilities. Then we have the assessing that's done for the real estate.
Yeah,
Two different companies.
right, okay. It's just that $40,955 is the sum of the two contracts that was provided as backup. That's why I was just trying to figure out, are we gonna put them both in warrant? One in warrant, the other not? Are we gonna budget some money for them? And I guess we're waiting on that.
Correct.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
if you look at the backup from last year, Jack, if you have it, it'll kind of show you. There's two numbers that we leave in there as contract services, and then the third piece is what we use, is the revaluation that we pay every year.
Okay. Yeah, I've gotta go, that's on paper.
Yeah.
I gotta go dig that out of the paper file.
All right.
Thanks, that's it for me.
I'm good.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
I'm
Good
good.
night.
Good night.
good
Good
night.
night.
Mark,
Yeah, all set.
Mark, run an extra wire there, buddy.
Yeah, sure. I'll pay the bill, maybe that'll help.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night. Just a reminder, gentlemen, I won't be here next week.
You don't wanna zoom in?
No. I appreciate the offer, though. Well, not only that, but I'm sure the computer won't hook up right, and everyone will be mad anyway, so it'll be fine.
So we don't Zoom next week?
Hello?
We'll zoom.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Scott can zoom.
Well, the worst thing is it'll just be on the computer. You won't see them on the TV. Is all worst case.
Yeah.
He can put it right over there, right in front of David.
No. Just an update. I did reach out to Kristen at Eversource regarding the information for the 3 buildings. She had replied, it usually takes a couple of months to get the audit scheduled, receive the reports, and approve a project. She says, unfortunately, I don't believe we could get all of this done before the cold weather sets in, because that's what I told her our goal was. But I did tell her, she asked, am I looking just to have the heating system looked at or the entire building envelope? So my response was, we're looking at the entire building envelope. Currently, the boiler at the fire station still works, it's just that it's old. The one in the Green Center has gone, and this building here, it was looking more at the AC and the ductwork. So I told her we'd still want to go forth with it. What I didn't send out, and I would want to talk to the board first, is to reach back out to Doug, who I think was copied on that email, to let him know, to ask him if we should be looking at doing something over at the Green Center, or wait to see how that other unit works. And if he says no, he should probably do something and upgrade. If she comes down and does an audit and gives us recommendations, address those recommendations later. But I think when he was out there last time, he had recommended we switch that over to propane. So what's your thoughts?
Guys, whatever's gonna, like I said, if this unit we have over there isn't gonna heat it, then I think we need to move forward on something and do the most cost efficient. That's my goal.
So Mark Hopkins gave me an update today. They took the propane unit out of building 2 that was in Sallyport, and they're thinking that that's gonna be enough to let us run through the winter, replacing the failed unit that's in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll buy us time until we can get the energy audit complete and decide a more comprehensive plan. So that's the thought, and that's a propane unit. Get a 100-gallon propane bottle, just get it piped in temporarily through the winter, and between that and the other unit that's still functioning in that area, hopefully that's enough to keep it above freezing.
I like that better than a light bulb.
We're still waiting to hear what you wanted to do.
Anything
wanna
but
do?
anything but wait to put a light bulb on the water.
It's funny the things he remembers. and the things he forgets. Before we go to that expense, if we're gonna have somebody come out here to pipe that in, wouldn't we be better to ask Doug, should we size up a unit and pipe that in versus paying somebody to come in and pipe a small heater that then we end up pulling out and replacing?
I mean, I'm assuming the expense is gonna be minimal, we're literally gonna go through a wall, gonna have a 100-gallon tank on the outside of the wall, punch a hole through the wall to the temporary unit.
Yeah, and I figure if it does it, then he can just run the pipe up to the new unit.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if the long-term goal is to go to propane, then we're probably
Pipe
gonna take
sizes
advantage.
change with the larger units.
Right.
You
You
know,
make the hole
half-inch.
bigger. You make the hole in the wall bigger.
In
Right.
theory,
Start with a little
we
one.
could probably take advantage of the underground tanks if we were gonna do that, is that correct?
Correct,
So,
which we would need to install.
well, we'd have to, or move the ones that we already have. behind
Well, those are
building
there
two.
for that generator.
Right.
Yeah, there's more
So
than
that's a
enough
whole
capacity.
reallocation. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it'd still have to be looked at
Yeah.
to see if they're sized properly, but, I mean, is it 1,000 gallon?
That was the speculation, but why would we? I don't know that I'd recommend going to the expense of relocating those,
Or just putting in a new one?
just put in a new one,
Yeah.
that
Well,
building and.
whatever's cost
Yeah.
effective, yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm fine with the minimal cost to get that other unit
Yeah.
put in and get it running.
I agree.
As the husband of the, one of the heads of the Green Center, I'm all for heating the Green Center. But that unit that you're thinking of moving, does that require, wiring in and all this? Or is it a total, really a portable unit,
no, it's
So-
like a propane,
like a shop heater?
like a cabinet unit heater, ceiling unit heater. So they pipe it, but yes, you still gotta wire it, it still needs. Road names.
Yep.
At one time, we discussed having some type of historical names, now that seems to be going astray. so-
Well, again, I look at it as, which is why I'm more in favor of Beckman Drive than Ashland. Beckman being the name of a family, has been in town for quite a while. I look at it as, when they named Porter Hill, no one else knew why they named it Porter Hill except the people who lived at that time, and now we know who they are. So I'm fine with naming it Beckman Drive if all the people who live on it are Beckmans, which I believe is the whole issue. It's the family that's living on the driveway. I'm fine with that. If it was Ashland, one, it's too close to Ashlawn.
Mhm.
But it's it's the first name of I'm guessing a grandchild, a child, something. But I'm fine with Beckman because it's the name of the family who's building the homes on that lot, so it will be a remembrance of who built the homes on that driveway. I'm fine with that.
And where is this located?
It's off of Green Farm, I think she
Yeah.
Yeah,
said.
it's off of Green
Everything
Farm.
is off Green Farm. Green Farm is about 3/4 of a mile long.
I don't know. I don't
Just
live
have
on
a
that side of
little-
I don't live on that side of town, David. I don't have to drive over there. That's what you tell me when you come over to the dirty side of town.
Ah. We were gonna lay some railroad tracks over there just so that we so we have no idea where.
Not exactly, no.
I'm really indifferent on the whole thing, but if we're gonna make them choose a historical name, then wouldn't we buy the sign for them if we're imposing, no?
We had that conversation already.
No, I know, so if they, like, if it's a private way, just give us a couple choices and then, you know, like, I'm happy with them having the choice of what the name of the
They
private
want
way
that.
is.
I agree that the other name was, I don't remember what it was, but when I saw it, I said, yeah, that's too close to.
Mm-hmm.
And Beckman didn't ring any bells for something that could,
Confuse.
yeah,
No.
or be similar to.
So motion
Yeah.
to
Thank you.
accept Beckman Drive as the name of the shared driveway off of Green Farm.
Second,
And we're on Green Farm?
Off of Green Farm. I didn't say it's on, it's off of. I don't know. It's probably right next to that A to Z prep place.
and
Or AK
do
prep.
we ever finalize what our, like, what the specifics of the background versus the
No.
type, and then how it's gonna be written that it was a private way and all that? 'Cause we got a little bit of time now if you wanted to hash it out. Maybe we could start with this one.
I think white and black was my comment, white background, black letters, and private under the street name, not under.
Yeah, not a, yeah, private way,
It was
right
getting
in
too
it, yeah.
confusing when it was under
But
the
I'm also fine,
drive or
you
street
know,
or whatever was there.
I'm fine with white and black, but I liked the idea of the reverse, so white with green. So everything else is green with white, and then the privates are white with green. Sean, what were your color preference?
I have no color preference.
Well, you got to break the tie here.
Alright. I like the white with the black.
Okay.
Yeah. But then my question is just how we put the private way on there.
I don't even know if you have to say way, just say private.
Or yeah,
Did you ever
well, just
notice the
private
one
in
that
general.
they did for Douglas, right
Mhm.
here?
Yeah,
Mhm.
And right under Douglas, it says private.
Private.
okay, alright.
I thought, well, that's,
Yeah, whether it's private way or private drive, I don't. But yeah, I mean, if there's something that says it has to say private. But yeah, as long as it says private.
I don't
mean,
think it has to say private, but
Well, so I was wondering if that was even a necessity.
I think it should be. That's not a town-owned road, and everyone,
Yeah,
it's a private drive.
mhm. Did I say all in favor?
You did not.
All in favor?
aye.
So, all future private. I hate to say white backgrounds, well, what white? Is there a way?
White reflective background? I think that pretty much.
Well, I mean, it's the, it's got to meet the standard.
That's what I'm wondering is how can we set, I know, this is ironic, is recently we had a project in Wyndham and developer calls, hey, can you get a street sign? Yeah, no problem. Gave him a drawing and whatnot. Yeah, that's good. Go ahead and get it. Well, we better send it to the town just in case. The town's reply, no, you need to go through this specific vendor. They know what our standards are. And we want them all to stay the same. I'm not saying we have to go to that extent, but somehow to get it so that when they buy it or next person buys it, they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
How do we?
Well, I'm sure there must be, that when they do that, I'm sure Peter's got some sort of standard order form he must have to fill out that says, the size and different things like that. And it would just be, I mean, it's like if you go to the post office and you're gonna put up a new mailbox, there's a basic thing that says your mailbox must be this high by this far, you know, and it must meet these standards. I'm sure he must have some sort of order form or a catalog or whatever that states what he's ordering when he orders street signs.
Cause right now. like,
And they
they're
would
all
just, when they come to
ordered through
apply
him,
for
right?
it, yeah, right
Yeah.
now they all go through him. But when
Yeah.
they come to apply for a private drive, we go, okay, here's the specifications you must meet with your street sign.
I'm wondering if we don't find out where it is that he's buying them and tell them, and if you go through this company, you'll,
I'm fine with that
should
too.
they be,
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want them just going on to, you know, Amazon or
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or
I can get this-
Vistaprint.
I can get this one for $5.
Yeah, I got this one at Vistaprint. And, you know, a week later the thing's peeling off. You know, so no, I'm fine. If he's like, you know, that he gets the order, they have a stack of the order forms in the land use office, and you go here, and here's the vendor for.
can we see if Peter can give us something?
Sure.
You know, even if he's gotta go to the vendor and say, look, we're trying to standardize this, can you send us a sample that we can get approved and give to, applicants?
I mean, even if we had to order one so it hangs up in that office or something, and they go, yep, this is what it has to match, here's the order form. If you have any questions, please contact us.
So under the street name, must say private. Lowercase,
I think they're always up. Everything's always uppercase. Yeah, just smaller font. And I'm sure again that'll be on the order form.
okay. Maybe even since the planning board is putting together a driveway street name thing, that maybe that font could be even part of
Like a
that.
part
so-
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. Any other updates?
So Affinity dropped off the light fixtures yesterday. Their subcontractor started installing today. I saw them out there, starting to replace light fixtures already. So that project is underway.
Can you tell us where, so we can go look at that,
Uh,
whatever it was
yeah,
we were
can
supposed to
you
look
compare
at?
So, had to be, I think it was where Smithville and Cone and Page Hill all come together.
Gotcha.
I think that's where I saw their truck.
Okay,
That's a good place to start. It's a little.
yeah,
So, yeah, I was on my way to
The cemetery.
The other issue is you saw the attorney's letter on 11 Temple.
yeah,
Mhm.
Was it acceptable?
Yeah.
can have
Oh, that was
it.
great.
fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will let him know and let him send it off.
I thought it was gone already.
Well, I
Yeah.
told him I wanted to run it by you
Yeah.
tonight
Looked
Yeah.
fine.
before
Yeah.
I,
No, I thought it was a good letter.
okay.
What'd you make out with the one across the street? Come in and file for a permit?
Yes,
Good.
yeah, Rick took care of that.
Yeah, because I saw they were still working, so I figured they must have come in and gotten permits.
Yeah, no, Rick, and I talked about that Monday morning when he was in,
Good.
so.
Uh, do we wanna go into non-public on the lease?
As long as we ask Ron to stick around, cause I think that's the whole point.
Oh, okay, well, you got something you wanna talk about for 45 minutes?
Talk about my feelings.
Make a motion to adjourn for a few minutes.
Alright.
I think it's the first time I heard you admit you had feelings.
I can step out for now.
Yeah, we need social distancing in here.
Guys, have a good night.
Good night,
See
Jason.
you, Jay.
Good evening.
Good evening. If there's too many people, we can do whatever.
Should be good.
We're close. You asked for the meeting?
I did.
What are the issues?
The issues is there's a lot of confusion going on right now, which is why these guys came up, because they want to try and figure out what's going on with the misinformation and things like that. So they're here because supposedly they were contacted and they never were, so they kind of want to get some of the facts right out front. So here's where I'd like to start. This is a copy of my job description, which I'm sure you have, but this is the job description that I took the job under. And if you look at it, it does say that according to my job description, which also follows statute, as far as whether we have a town manager or a town administrator, it does follow the statutes. It says that I respond directly to you and report directly to you. It also says that I work with the town administrator with regards to policies and some things, but I work independently. And if you look at the second page, it says that I respond and report directly to you. So, a couple weeks ago, this org chart came to you guys. And I know you saw this too. Came to you. And a comment was made that some people don't understand my role, and that was made by the town administrator. The next day, that org chart was handed to us in a staff meeting, department meeting, and I went, but, and the comment exactly at that point was, this is the way it's going to be, and the selectmen are completely on board. So, the confusion right now, which is causing a lot of misinformation, a lot of concern from these guys as far as safety, is who do I report to? By statute, I should be reporting directly to you guys. The org chart says that the town administrator is going to be between us. In the last 6 months, we've had nothing but communication breakdowns. There's been a lot of misinformation. There's been a lot of misinformation that my guys have heard from people in the community. So I want to know directly who you want me to report to and how that chain of command is going to go. Because I cannot continue to run a fire department with misinformation. We're not getting all the information. You're not getting all the information from us. And it was perfectly obvious in my job description, or in my job interview.
I'd like to understand what misinformation fire department is getting. Can any of you speak to what misinformation you received through this office that, other than social media or anything to that nature? Can anyone speak up?
Well, I think part of the thing is, I worked in Groton for a period of time. There were 2 types of chiefs in the United States.
All I'm asking for is what misinformation have you received as a volunteer firefighter from this town?
That is not a strong chief.
And you received that from here?
Well, not directly from here, but people that have heard it from here that are saying the mayor's not a strong chief.
But that's somebody's
Yes.
personal opinion. Okay. And maybe I misconstrued it. I thought the chief was saying that you people, and not every single one of you, but some of you have received information through this office or through this board regarding misinformation, and that's what I want to be clear on first. If I misunderstood, I apologize and we can continue on.
I think, like I said, the thing is, we've heard a lot of rumors going around town, and Eric Armstrong, that the town administrator is going around talking to firemen. Are you the town administrator?
Right?
I've never met you a day in my life. So, I don't know about the rest of them. I've never talked to them.
Also has the selectmen are out of there for miscommunication. But
Correct.
that came from another resident who apparently talked to people up here, so.
Again,
But it
Rumor
came
mill.
from
I
here
can't,
apparently.
one thing we cannot control, and that's what the point I'm trying to make, is rumor mills. What you hear from other people,
Why now?
So we're here in
why,
support of our chief.
excuse me, wait a minute, that's fine. Why not?
Why now?
Why we can't control the rumor mill?
Why are the rumors starting now?
I don't know. And that's one thing I have always said. If I can't control rumors, I'm not even gonna try. What I wanna know is if you have something specific that you're not clear on, ask the question.
All right, is Meredith a strong chief or a weak chief?
I cannot tell you that as a selectman, whether she's a strong chief or a weak chief.
Give him a definition.
So
that's
a
what-
strong chief.
Wait a minute.
Can I-
Wait a minute.
Okay.
You ask me a question, and I'm gonna answer it, okay?
How can you
I-
answer if you don't know? Okay.
Are you gonna give me the opportunity?
go ahead.
Thank you. I cannot tell you whether she's a strong chief or she's a weak chief. What I can tell you is, I was on the board that appointed Meredith because of knowing what her background is, okay? How she operates the department, I don't go down there to find out. And I don't receive things back to say, you know, the fire crews are against her, they're for her, whatever. As long as everybody down there is getting the job done and meeting the requirements that the town needs to have met, I'm happy.
So that's not what a strong chief is. A strong chief means she has the power to do things, meaning she can promote within. She doesn't have to go to you guys and go, hey, I'd really like Joe Smo to be lieutenant. She can do that on her own. She has the power to do that. So she's a strong chief, meaning she has complete power over her department.
And
A
she
weak chief-
answers directly to the
And
selectmen.
yeah, she does not answer to anybody but the, well, I assume it's just three selectmen. She doesn't answer to anybody but the three of you. She works coincide with the police chief, the town administrator, they all work on the same level. Nobody's in charge of each other except for you guys being in charge of all the department heads. So.
I disagree with that. So just so that we're on the same table, that's your opinion, correct?
No, that's what a strong chief is.
That's,
But again, that is your opinion.
no, that's
No,
terminology.
That's
the
terminology.
All right, where can we find that terminology that says a strong chief doesn't work under a town administrator or must work under a board of selectmen?
Well, her job description says she works under you.
There's an
Correct,
RSA.
it does.
Yeah, there is an RSA.
Defines that.
Yeah,
I don't believe so.
You want me to go get, I.
Sure,
I'll
why don't
get
you do that?
okay.
I will.
But her job description directly says she works under you.
Correct, correct.
So by you guys saying that it's okay for her to report to somebody else,
We are, you gotta remember, the board is the one that made this job description. As well as we have the authority to make that job description, we can change the job
now
description.
without notice.
We can. We can.
So my question, because I don't want to get off on a side, and I don't want to get in an argument. My question is, are we following that, or are we following the org chart? The job description you gave me follows the state guidelines. It follows the RSAs that says because if you have a town manager, the town
Which we
manager,
don't have.
which you do not have,
Correct.
then I would report to the town manager. In looking at the New Hampshire Municipal.org, what they say is the town manager becomes the administrative head of all departments. The town administrator does not have those statutory powers and duties.
Say that last one again?
The town administrator does not have these statutory powers and duties.
Correct.
But you're giving him
You
those
just-
statutory powers by putting him between a selectman and your department heads.
Which you just said
We
you have
have-
the power to do.
Correct. We have the authority to tell him, you are any town administrator, that we want you to oversee all of the departments.
And I'm asking you, why would you wanna do that, especially after the last 6 months with the breakdown in communications? We're not getting information from you in a whole.
What
And you're not
information are
getting-
you not
and
getting?
you're not
Please
getting
be specific,
information
cause
from
one
me.
thing I can't follow is generic terminology. I am a black and white, so, and if it's something, just tell me, point blank, this is it.
So all of the information that went on as far as the fire inspector's position and, I talked to John even about, the town administrator is just concerned because Gary's leaving and you have nobody to fill that position. So this was an instance where I had asked Rick to cover because Gary was gone, which was an agreement that they have had that even went through when we renegotiated at the beginning of last year on whose roles were what. They agreed to cover for each other. Gary was out of town. I called Rick. Rick said he would cover. Then it came up here. Lori went to Scott, and all of a sudden I get a scathing email that is CC'd to you guys about how this isn't supposed to be happening, and I have the email and everything, and then you need to be hiring, then he started telling me I need to hire three to four new fire inspectors in order to fill these roles, and what's gonna happen when Gary leaves. That all went to you guys as misinformation. None of that was true. I had already talked to Rick. Rick had said he would cover it. They do it all the time. We do not need 3 or 4 new fire inspectors, and I don't think anybody needs to tell me that. I know my job very well. Besides the fact that nobody even bothered to find out if Gary's leaving. First of all, Gary was never leaving the fire inspector's position for 2 to 3 years. So that was not an issue. But it became an issue in that email that got CC'd to you. And nobody ever tried to straighten it out. It just came to me that John said, well, Scott's concerned about the fact that Gary's leaving. That's misinformation.
So would it be prudent for us to ask you to give us the information?
I did
Let me just ask the question, then respond. To give us the information of, this is who I have doing the fire inspections, and in his absence, I have this person as backup, because what I'm hearing is that the responsibility was being shifted to our building inspector, who happens to be the fire chief in Ringe, and that it's bogging him down.
Again,
So-
misinformation.
Okay. Would it be prudent then, rather than relying on him, is to have somebody within your department take those second role duty, in training under Gary, so if you're telling me that he's going to
And let me ask
retire
this
and-
question. How do you know that's not already going on, and why does it matter? As long as I'm covering my own department and making sure that all the needs are met and training my people up as we go, why do you need to know that all the time? Why does
Because
Scott
this
need
was
to
the
know?
communication
Yeah.
you were just
I
saying.
would like to communicate with you guys,
But-
because I would have
yeah.
given you that information. What happened was it dead stopped at the gatekeeper, who says he's not the gatekeeper, and that information was never portrayed further. So I'm saying, if you want to put that communications gap in the middle between us, we've got problems that we need to work around. If you allow me to do my job the way I've done it for the last 3 years with no problems, we've had minor communications, things that we've adjusted to, but at any point when there's been a question, I've been able to go to my liaison or any one of the other selectmen and been able to talk it out. If there's been a time when there's been confusion, you guys have never had a problem with saying, hey, we're a little concerned about this, can you come up here and meet? All of that is gone now. And that's my problem, is there's so much miscommunication stuff going on, even with the COVID stuff. That COVID thing was a nightmare. All I wanted was something put on. The first response I got was from the town administrator that said, the policy's good enough. Not, yeah, let's talk about it. I'd like to see. So it was shut down automatically. So I called Sean and said, this is what I want to do. Sean said, and I couldn't get a hold of you. So Sean said, put it on the agenda. So I did. In talking with Tim, we looked at the job description. Job description says, should talk to the town administrator about policy. Okay, let's pull back. Let's try it the right way. When we met a couple of weeks ago, that was supposed to then come from the town administrator. He said, draft it, I'll get it to them right away. You have not seen it yet until I gave it to you last week when I emailed you. We're now 4 weeks out and we're still trying to solve the COVID thing for first responders if we have an incident where half of my members go down. It would have been a simple thing. But this communication thing is gone. And I don't feel like I have the right to talk to you guys anymore. And I think by putting the town administrator in that gatekeeper position, I am not the only one that feels this way. And you know it, because you've talked to Tim. So,
Tim is, just not to interrupt you, Tim has not told me anything regarding communications with town administrator. And I talk to Tim frequently.
That's between you.
Okay.
I had a long conversation with him today.
Yeah.
So I'm asking to stay the way we are and allow us to communicate directly with you. We communicate with the town administrator when we're supposed to. We keep him in the loop. We had a decent relationship going on 6 or 8 months ago. And then all of a sudden, this started going on and it's gotten progressively worse. So I'm asking why we are trying to fix something that wasn't broken to start with, so that we can have open communications with the board, which is what we're supposed to do as department heads. I'm just asking.
And I've got a response, but I'm gonna let these gentlemen respond first.
My whole piece is my understanding with why we were doing this and my feelings is that I was hoping we were going to be getting better communication, because we had one way it was funneling to us and one way it funneled out. You guys have your staff meetings, and so we could meet here on a Tuesday night. Scott then meets with the department heads on Wednesday, and the information is funneled out instead of David, can you go talk to Tim? John, can you go talk to Meredith? Sean, can you go talk to... It's trying to funnel it in one direction and get it funneled back in one direction so that we're trying to better the communication. It sounds like we're having breakdowns that we need to fix if this is the plan we want to continue moving on. So that was my take on this organization chart, is that I hoped it would correct the breakdown of communication, not make it worse.
But if we each had our own liaison that we could talk to as we have in the past, I don't see why that communication should break down at all.
And I guess my piece is, it's, I look at it as with the liaison piece, I enjoy being the liaison to the fire department. I've learned much more about what's gone on up there. I've been your advocate many times when you need stuff. And I would look at it as, if you're having that breakdown or you feel that it's not happening, please, that's when I want to be informed. And that's what, so that's the piece, is that, hey, I'm not getting the communication. So then I can bring it to the board and we can sit here with Scott and go, hey, this is what I'm hearing. Get a second piece of it. And it seems like we need to get Meredith in here so we can all talk. But like I said, my piece was just trying to get, if we're going to sit in here on a Tuesday night and come up with plans and procedures that we want, or thoughts that we have for moving the town forward or doing something, my understanding was we thought it would be better funneling it in one direction in one meeting to department heads, and then department heads funneling it down to their people.
I can tell you that each of us give reports back to the town administrator at that department head meeting, and I know there's stuff that has not come back to you, and I'll give you an example as far as the extractor. When the whole extractor issue happened, as far as our washing machine extractor thing, at the next staff meeting, I filled in the town administrator on what was going on with the extractor, because I knew you would have questions on why we're getting another bill for an extractor. Last week he said to me, you need to be prepared to talk about the extractor because the selectmen are going to want to know. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the selectmen should have already known, because the town administrator should have told them, because I asked him to. That was my understanding of that funneling. That funneling is not working. That funneling is only funneling whatever certain things that go through and certain things that come the other way.
So
I think that we
yeah.
have a breakdown in communication.
I will let you know, we were told about the extractor that it wasn't performing to what you needed it, and you
I
had
gave a
to.
whole scenario of what had gone wrong, and I never heard anything. And I guess that's the other piece that I miss, that I feel like is a breakdown, is information is going to you, but we never hear back if anything had been resolved. So this instance with the town or with the town fire inspector thing, information went to you guys. Obviously you had a concern. Nothing ever came back to me that was still an issue. Till last week when my review came up. And bada bing, there it is. That whole review was based on 2 issues, and there was not one positive thing in there on how we dealt with COVID or anything else. It was just nailing me on this one issue that we could have resolved if somebody had ever called me back and said, hey, kind of curious, Scott's a little bit concerned about the fact that Gary might be leaving. Never heard anything. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a dead issue. As far as you're concerned, it's a lack of communication. Don't you see a problem there? There's no give and take anymore like there used to be. There's a funnel, gap, and I don't feel like I can come talk to you guys. I feel like now we've made more work for you than we ever did before, because now we're spot checking everybody's information, whereas before I could have just picked up the phone.
Well, and just when this was given to us that evening, like you see it as a wall, but it had we had asked about that, and there was no touch taken away whatsoever. Like it was just the simple communication aspect that was supposed to go back and forth through Scott. But you're never shut off from any of us, because I think you even found that out, like with not being able to get a hold of John or not getting what you wanted back from Scott. Then you called me, and here we are. You're we're here. It's happening, and I know that it's a little bit painful, but just know that there's never a definite wall, and you didn't step out of line by going through and finding a way to communicate your issues to the board.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that was my.
So is this a communications chart, or is this an org chart? So an org chart, which is what's identified in my job description, is I answer directly to you. An org chart, if that's an org chart, says I have to go to Scott before I can go to you. That's an org chart, and that's what it says at the top of that. So if it's a communications chart, I don't have a problem with that. We funnel information. If it goes up in fact, it's for. If it's an org chart, I have a problem with that.
And I wasn't aware of the two, the differences of the terms, what an org chart is versus communications, and if there was one. So.
And I'm gonna acknowledge you in 1 second, but going back to this here,
To which,
this form
Yeah.
here, as Sean said, when Scott presented it to us, we said, there'll always be communication from the board down, and that was not an issue. That, as Sean's pointed out, this isn't that you can't come to the Board of Selectmen with an issue, but we wanna see improvement in the communication between the fire department to the town administrator and to the board. And whatever we have to do to help improve that, that should be what our focus is on.
yes,
So-
Now, that's my say, but I want to acknowledge the gentleman in the back
I just have one
had
more.
his hand up a couple of times.
Mike.
Yeah, so there was, a few things I kinda wanted to make a point on, one being, there was reference made to a review that was conducted. A concern of mine is how can you effectively review an employee without actually speaking to any of their peers? It's a concern of mine. I mean, I will speak on behalf of the department, but, my opinion, I think she's done really well. I think the advances we've made over the past few years, the things we've been able to accomplish, have just been groundbreaking in my opinion. And for someone, for somebody who's done so much good for this town to get a crappy review, I mean, I haven't seen it myself, so I can't really speak to it, but it's just disheartening to know that, the opinion of the membership and the people that work closely with her, wasn't really valued. So that's a killer for me. Two, this whole organizational chart thing, we're putting another barrier between the decision makers and the people that need the decisions. And it just seems kind of like a middle management position to pass off the communication, so it makes, you know, it easier on the other end, you know, in my opinion.
And we see it as a positive because we are not here every day.
Mhm.
Scott is. So if there's an issue that Scott can address, that's improving the communication. That's how we look at it.
But he's not addressing it, and that's the problem
Okay.
that I have.
You
So,
have a question?
two things.
Comment?
I'll continue on Mike, and I'm not slamming David, because David was chief forever long.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
You're on video.
That's fine. When Mara took over, she looked at each position, lieutenant, all the way up to captain, even firefighters, and she started training us. I am one of the people that she's training. There's a couple other members in here. She created a alternative lieutenant position, so that if a lieutenant ever just quit, we already have somebody that's trained. And she started with the lieutenants, and she started doing that with them, where she would train them up to be captains, and so on and so forth. I think that what's great about our department in that aspect, there's not just one person she's training. She's training multiple people. So if one doesn't pan out just right, or one doesn't like the job, that's fine. We still have other candidates in the pool. I think the training has come so far. It's amazing what we have accomplished in this department in such a short time. It is, and I work for a full-time fire department. It is amazing to see this little town come as far as we have and do the things that we have done.
Well, that's great.
The thing my second thing is I have a question on is, and this is more and more of a taxpayer thing, but is Scott her boss?
Is Scott her boss? Her boss is the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. So that was, yeah, that's what I wanted clarification, just
Yeah.
make sure that you guys.
Yeah.
So that's more of a conversation piece than it is an actual who is in charge of who.
Correct. We're just
Right.
trying to say is we've got a town administrator. How can he help us, the Board of Selectmen, with all of our different departments? So their communication should come up to him so that he can apprise us. And he tells, you know, I get emails 2 or 3 a day from him, minimum, of where things are, okay? Do I get every single one? I don't think so. But in any business, that's the way things are.
I think the idea should be, how can I make my employees' jobs easier, and not how can I make my job easier? I mean, I think putting an extra barrier between your employees and the people that need to make the decision, it makes their job more difficult.
But how are you, Meredith, gonna communicate with me on Thursday night, Thursday morning? How?
Do you have email?
I do, but I also have a job that I'm working at that I'm
I also have
not,
a full-time job as well.
so I'm not checking my email there. But if there's an issue, she can come to Scott, he can try and resolve it, and if he can't, then he sends it out to the board.
If I can't resolve an issue, it's not an issue that the town administrator is gonna be able to resolve. I need to be able to talk to you guys. If I can't get
I
hold of
disagree
you,
with that.
well,
I-
that's,
Can you
If
give an
you can.
example?
Can I give an example?
Because honestly, I don't see something that would need an immediate answer that Scott would be available for.
That Meredith can't make the
For
decision
example,
herself.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You just mentioned about the COVID policy.
Mhm.
You went to Scott, he could look at it and say, hey, we've got a policy in place already. All right?
And I
He
think that's
responded
what-
back to her.
That's what happened.
If that had gone to the selectmen, each of the individual selectmen, we can't say,
So,
we cannot say by email, we can't make decisions by email. That's the RSA, that's that 91A you always hear about. We gotta convene a meeting so that we can discuss it and make a decision.
but you can still discuss.
but
you
I
can
got
still
shut
research.
down in that email.
Right.
I
Chief,
got
can
shut down by
Chief,
that.
Chief, can I speak for a second?
I'm trying to give him an example, don't
That's
get
not a-
specific.
Not a good
Maybe I
example.
should,
Excuse me,
It's
Chief.
not a good example.
But more specifically for that, you know, that you can do your research, you can be aware of the incident, you can get all the factors and information you need prior to showing up for that meeting and saying, okay, well, give me all the information now and I can make a decision now. So having the information ahead of time, getting an email, looking at that email, makes you prepared for the meeting and be able to give a.
And that's what
Hold on,
Scott
hold on,
does.
Hold on, but perfect example, you talked about the COVID thing, she presented a concern on that, she was shot down and told that, no, we already have one in place, it's fine. Did that ever get back to you saying, you know, we need to revisit
yeah.
this?
We were CC'd on it.
Did you speak to it at all, or did you think, oh, it's fine as well?
I thought it was fine as well.
Okay, so you're telling me the policy as it stands right now, it's acceptable and it's good to go?
where other towns are adjusting, we're
Correct.
staying the same.
Okay,
Right.
all right,
Now-
you know,
Well,
and I just, I
But
disagree with
once
that.
we were given more information, then we were able to address it.
Has anything changed?
No, because we haven't had a chance to speak about it in the meeting and look at it. The other day, we
Because
asked
you have
it.
to wait till the meeting to get
I'm
the-
speaking, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Hang on.
The other day, Chief Lund, we asked her, can you write something up proposing what you want the new COVID policy to actually say? Then we can bring it to the board and we can vote to adopt it, amend it, whatever. But like David said, you send me and go, can we adjust? I'm going to look at it on the other side and go, well, you know, Peterborough had 12 people. You know, I understand they were able to operate. One of the comments I made here when I said it, when it was brought to us, I said, I would more or less want to bring it and sit down and address it to on an individual basis. That's what I immediately went to. So, because one of my issues that I have is if you are, right, yeah, the whole thing, but what I want to talk at that point is like, well, that's great that you went and got a negative test. But have you changed your behavior that got you a positive test or a exposure? If you're not going to change your behavior that gets you exposed, I'm not going to allow you to go back into a fire department and continue to endanger the other officers. So I looked at, that was my initial response, and then it went back, and then so we've asked Chief Lund to draw something up for us. So it's not that we didn't address it, we weren't prepared to address it properly.
I didn't mean to cast that light on you guys, and I apologize for that. And what I guess I meant to say is that, you know, COVID isn't a new thing. It's been going on for a while, and, you know, if you look at our town policy on COVID, how many times has it changed? I mean, how much more information has come out, you know, what the risks are, what the things we should be taking action on, how we should be preparing, how we should be responding to incidents where, you know, we have infections within the fire department. It's not something that's new. It's not something that the information just came out yesterday. There's a lot of stuff. And I think, and it just goes to play that we put another barrier in front. It's not getting that information to you guys in a timely manner. It's not being able to research that information on the backside. We're waiting for a meeting. We're addressing it, or we're talking about it in a meeting, and then we're going to say, all right, well, we have all these questions. And now those questions are going to filter back through the town administrator, back down to the fire chief, because that's a game of telephone. We all know how that goes. And then now we have to wait for the next meeting before that information gets relayed back to you because we put that barrier between you guys.
And I guess that's what I would like to say out of this is, especially with the COVID policy, we're now, October 21st is when I first asked for a copy of the COVID policy, assuming it had been updated. And I got a reply back saying this policy's been in effect since April 1st, like I didn't know that, assuming it would have been updated. My response back was I would like to see it amended. His response back was it's good enough. If that barrier hadn't have been there, I would have called John or Sean or you, whoever I could get, and say, look, there have been serious changes that have come by. I would like to meet with you. Can I get on the agenda for this Tuesday because I think it's important? We wouldn't be dragging on now 4 weeks later, still without that amendment to the COVID policy. So that's a perfect example of where I see this breaking down. I'm not being allowed to just come to you like I used to when I had an issue. You are not coming to me when you have an issue. If you had a concern about Gary, you could have picked up the phone and I would have said, Gary's not leaving. But nobody ever, so that communication has not gotten better since you put Scott in the middle. It has gotten worse. And if I'm allowed to talk to you guys whenever I need to, whatever decision you make as far as that, so long as my job description still stands, it's still as clear as mud. But that's my concern, is I'm losing
Let's make
touch
it
with
real
you.
crystal clear, okay, so that everybody here is on the same page and understands it. The communications should still go through Scott to the board, from the board, Scott, and back out. If you, at any time, find that, hey, it's not communicating correctly, we've got a hiccup here, you have all carte blanche to say, let's get selectmen onto a meeting,
Then I'm good with that.
okay?
And
And
at
that's
the
why-
same point,
that's what
I
we've
will
been
be better
stressing.
on writing down
Because
the
that-
fire department pieces and
'Cause one way or
discussing it
another,
with you
that's
as,
Because
you
right
know.
now, we've been told, I'm sorry.
no, I will be better at writing down when we talk about fire department things and be better at talking to you and go, hey, have you had a chance to address these things through Scott yet? And if you look at me with, deer in the headlight look, I go, okay, we missed that somewhere. But so I will take just as much blame on a drop of communications within the, from the board to the fire department as anybody else.
And I know there were some emails that were getting lost, and a follow-up from me saying, hey, did you get the email, would also help on my end. But so long as this communications can still happen, and there's a communications that's gonna go there to try and central, my job description is standing as it is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We haven't changed the
That's
job description of
all
what
I
your
wanna
duties
make
are.
sure, that it's totally clear who I answer to, because then I'm okay.
Now,
And I am a strong chief,
Right. That,
So-
by definition.
by
makes sense.
definition.
Yeah.
so I'm trying to think of a way to like backfill this correctly, to fix the problem. I wonder if it wouldn't be, like if you just copied, cause I looked at it as Scott not being aware of the many moving pieces that are going on around him and him having anxiety about that and wanting to be like in the know of what's going on. So would it be fixed as simply as to like if you wanted to communicate to your liaison to CC Scott on it as well, and then that way he's aware of an issue that's going on, and then vice versa, the same thing, something with Meredith, you'd copy John on the same email, and then that way you have like the selectman and the administrator, like both are being fulfilled, and it doesn't take any more time, like to shoot that email off to, like a selectman and the administrator as it does just one of them. Is that acceptable to you guys? Because that's what I took this as, Scott. Like, was you not being aware of all the moving pieces around what was going on?
You have a puzzled look on your face.
I do,
know
because the way
you
I
do.
said earlier, I'm black and white, and I really didn't understand.
No.
I'm sorry, but.
No, it's copying, like, people just, like, the three.
We get
so
copied
it'd be
now, and
Meredith,
that's what-
Scott, and
Well, what I
John
tried to do in all
would
fairness,
just, like, in the communication between the three of them, like, just to keep everybody in the loop. So if one's communicating with the other, they copy the other one on it, like the email.
CC.
one
Yeah,
of
but
the,
I'm
one of
thinking,
the things
doesn't
I
he always
tried,
copy us on everything
No.
that?
No.
and one of the things that I tried to do is, as soon as Scott CC'd all of you, first of all, that sent up a red flag to me that, hey, be advised. But anyway, when I responded back to him, I don't wanna get in an email war with you guys, or with the town administrator. That's a very poor way to do business.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was I would send him an email and I would CC John. And CC all three of you, and I know that came up in the COVID discussion a couple of weeks ago that, well, I didn't know, because I felt like I was ratting him out all the time. I'm like throwing all this nasty stuff back at you guys. I kept John in the loop because he's our liaison, he needs to know, but I don't think that every single correspondence that Scott and I have, because they're not always positive, needs to go to all three of you. But it
And-
needs to go to somebody so that there's an awareness that there's an issue.
Again, my black and white vision tells me the problem with that scenario is this, and I'm gonna use that as an example.
Okay.
Something replies, I see it,
And then you don't see it.
and I don't say, good, it's resolved. You
And
know,
that
and in
was
the
my point
meantime, I'm
exactly.
finding out, oh no, that kept going,
Yeah.
you know?
And that was my point exactly. As soon as I don't get a response back, I assume it's all taken care of. When in fact, judging by my evaluation, it was never taken care of. So that's the kind of stopgap that I think we're trying to eliminate by Sean saying, should we CC everybody? I'm not.
Not
big on-
everybody, not like
I'm not
David
big
and
on-
I. It's
But
just
just for the record,
the
I'm not big
three.
on CC.
these issues that we're talking about here, COVID, the deputy, to me, those were minor things, okay?
Mhm. So
Last
I
week,
agree.
we discussed what my major concern was. That was what I saw as the concern.
Yeah.
So these other things, to me, are all workable. And if they don't become workable, that's when it should be, hey, let's sit down and talk about it.
But when you give an evaluation, and I learned this when I worked on my master's degree, and the chief executive officer degree that I have, and all the training leadership classes that I took, when you do a review, you never put into a review an unresolved issue that has never been addressed with the employee. You always try to address that issue first so that it doesn't taint the evaluation. If the issue doesn't get resolved through communications and there's a breakdown, then it has to be reflected. But the issues that came up in my evaluation were never addressed before that evaluation. And that evaluation was given to me with all of those in there, and to you they're minor, but things that I had excelled at for the last 3 years, knowledge of my department, leadership, different things like that, all of a sudden became needs improvement. How did it go from 3 consecutive years of above average to needs improvement? And every reference was to these 2 issues that had not been resolved. So yes, they're minor, but they reflected poorly in my evaluation, and they never should have been in that evaluation. And there was not one positive thing in that evaluation. And like I said before, how we handled COVID, how we shut everything down, how I handled all of the permits, how much work, $150,000 brush truck that I got while I was on vacation. None of that got addressed as a positive. So that's where I'm seeing this communication breakdown. And the evaluation to me at this point, it doesn't mean anything to me. But when you say they're minor issues and they're workable, they were minor issues, and they never should have ended up in my evaluation.
And I can see your perspective about if there was no positives or there were things that you've done that were not on there. To me, that is why, somebody does a review, then you sit down with the employee and you go through it and say, hey, this is how I see it. Well, this is what I'm seeing. And then that can get changed and be noted on there. And that's why there's the signature for the employee and the person doing the review.
But those shouldn't have had, because they were never addressed originally, those shouldn't have, you're talking July on one of the instances. We're talking 5 months now that those issues have hinged out there and hinged out there and hinged out there and never been resolved. I was supposed to come for a meeting to resolve them. All of a sudden I find out it's my review, and they're in my review. None of that should have ever happened. That is a knock in the head to an employee.
Okay.
I'm doing a great job, bam. 3 years I've had really good reviews. Nothing has ever needed improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, all of the things that were above average now need improvement. I have a problem with that, especially when they reflect the issues that were not resolved before the evaluation. So I agree, they are minor. They could have been handled, the one in July could have been handled the next day. Simple phone call, hey, can you stop by, I'm kind of curious. And it didn't. So I'm fine. I'm going to, as soon as the town administrator makes a decision on if he's gonna write something into my evaluation, I will write my comments on it, and then we can sign it. And then I'd like to ask that all the unsigned copies are destroyed. But otherwise, that evaluation didn't come from you guys, and I don't need to discuss it anymore. I'm fine with it. But I think moving forward, the fact that we've worked on the communication, I know where I fit in the org chart. Anything you guys are unhappy with? I have to say that I have one of the most amazing call and volunteer fire departments in the state. One of the highest trained, one of the most supportive, and one of the ones that looks toward the future in every single thing that they do. So anybody that's got an interest in anything, every one of these people, every one of my officers has a backup person that they are training to get ready for the next generation. And that goes all the way down. And that's fire inspector, every single officer's position, everything we do there. So there is no concern about who's gonna take over when the fire chief leaves or when the deputy leaves. We are training these people as they go.
So just for the record, so I know, maybe the others know, what is the training for the inspector?
There is a couple of classes they have to take, and there haven't been any
Academy classes.
available.
Right, they're academy classes.
Yeah.
But you have people that are gonna be taking them.
I already have people that have taken the classes. We do probably,
So then if they've taken the classes,
because
do
we
they have
always,
to take more?
They've started. A lot of us have started. You can't finish anything right now.
Okay.
COVID is, the state is shut down.
So you have people in the process to become inspectors,
Right.
in process, okay.
and we always have, but
Right.
nobody bothered to find that out. Except that I want the names of 3 or 4 people that are gonna take over. We probably do 4 life safety inspections a year. Maybe 5.
So the
These
other,
people are
yeah.
working with Gary to learn how we do things in town. So that training process has always been going on. That is not anything that anybody here needs to concern themselves, and I'm always happy to talk about that with any of the 3 of you.
It's a lot too. I can speak on myself, but we all work full-time jobs, so for us to go and not get paid to go take an academy class, that's a lot of dedication to this town. And we're trying the best we can. But to put it all on her, that's not fair either, you know?
Yeah, I guess my 2 things are, first of all, I look at it as we got to the point where we appointed a chief instead of electing a chief, so that we made sure that we had qualified individuals leading our department. I would like to make sure that, I don't know whether you're on a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, 15, whatever it is, and maybe you don't even know.
I do.
Yeah.
When it's not fun, I'm done.
Yeah, but the thing is we'd like to definitely know
Within
that.
a year or so,
Yeah,
please, guys.
but definitely we'd like to know that there is someone in your ranks that is your, mentee, whatever, that you're looking at as the next step for this department, that you're not going to end up backsliding to where we were 10 years ago.
But then you should be able to trust me that I am running the department in that manner. Do you know that about every other department in the town?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of know who.
Who's taking over for Tim when he leaves?
Well, no, because no.
My view is the lieutenant.
Yeah.
He doesn't know the way.
That's me.
But see, how would well, I look at it this way? How would you like it if someone said that about you in
Right.
in an open meeting?
Right.
Because you just did that on TV. That's kind of a,
Well, how do you know? That's what I'm saying.
No, but what I'm saying is, how would you like it if someone went, because they don't know, but if someone looked at you and went, hey, yeah, so and so is kind of our thought of taking over for Chief Lund, and someone from another department went,
Right,
that's just
what
kind
I'm
of.
saying. How do you know? Because you don't.
Because
But you don't. But you
we
don't.
know even up to the day.
that's what she
But
said.
Calm down.
Yeah,
ask
so-
the question, listen to the answer,
Yeah.
then you can respond. We've hired Lieutenant Abel.
Right.
He's in there training under Chief Carpenter. The presumption is things have been working out, that when the chief decides he's gonna retire, that Lieutenant Abel would be well-versed in the position and be able to transition into that. Now, do we say, well, are you going to do that? No. We'll wait till that situation comes closer when chief tells us, hey, another year or 2 I'm gonna plan on retiring, then we'd sit down and have that conversation. But you try and plan the best you can.
And
Right,
then
that's
so
what
that-
my point was. Is you're asking
I
her to tell you names of people that.
No,
may not
just
even-
to say
No,
that
just to
there are
say that
people-
she
I
has
can
some.
tell you at any point, if I decided to leave tomorrow, there's probably 5 people in this room that could take my place, all qualified.
And that's
Because
and that's
we
all.
have work to have
Right,
them
and that's all. That's for me. That's what I just want to know. It's like, in what you've done, do you have people that you would feel comfortable
I do.
recommending to the board, or, choosing your successor? Do you have that comfort?
They were
That's-
looking at the back of my
yeah.
head going, who's the 5?
Yeah, but
There's
then
probably
the
more
other,
than 5.
and then the other thing I want to say is, some of you said that you're hearing in the community smack talk about your department or your chief. That's not coming from here, no matter what you think you're
Actually,
hearing.
I actually have to say that it came to me from one of my guys who was talking to someone that said that you had mentioned it, that there was a communication breakdown between the fire chief and the town administrator. So, I don't mean to point fingers, but I heard that specifically. So-
And whether I said
And
there
it
was a
was in a-
communication
It was in
breakdown,
a passing conversation, it
Yeah.
wasn't, hey, I'm gonna go scope somebody out, but it's a small town and it gets down to people, and I think we just have to be careful is all.
Yeah, and if I said to look at someone, yeah, that we're having some sort of communication breakdown, that's not saying that you're a bad chief or that you have a bad department. That's saying we have a communication breakdown.
And then one of us should pick up the phone.
Right. And that's, and that's in every direction. But I mean, as far as saying that you can't run a department or that
I don't think anybody ever heard that.
No.
At least I hope not.
so
I think the other thing, never mind, I had one more side that, a lot of other things that have happened in this past year that also haven't been brought to your attention is how well the whole fire department and the ambulance are working together. It's a phenomenal,
Really well.
it's a phenomenal change.
I'm
I
hearing it
talked
from
to
the other
Wendy
side
daily
too.
because of certain things that I have to report to her from the state. So I talk to her almost daily, probably daily at this point. She and I, if there's any issues, which there haven't been, we talk all the time. She's doing some amazing things. They're bringing back some EMTs that have been gone for a while. So that relationship is also something that probably could have been reflected in a review that said, hey, you know what? Fire department ambulance do pretty well.
Joint trainings too.
Joint trainings, we keep doing joint training, so everything as far as the fire department is going very, very well.
But I'm gonna, because of something you
Although
just
we
said,
still
I'm
don't
gonna
have
go,
we still don't have a signed MOU.
correct, somebody's
Yeah.
working on that. But going back to.
Sorry.
I didn't say who,
That's fine.
I just said somebody's
No,
working
no,
on
you
that.
didn't.
I'm working on it.
We asked you to give us a report.
We told you
of
what
what's
we're
going
doing.
on. We do get your,
I send the business minutes meetings, yeah.
and to me, that's.
I know, you said it's too much.
I actually
No, it's
I like
that's
them.
more,
I like them.
You're welcome anytime.
I mean, no, but what I'm saying is
Anyone at that table is welcome.
I appreciate getting those meeting notes.
But that's really what's going on in our department.
it is, but from here, what I'm
What are you
looking at that I would have liked to have seen was, hey, we've been having good communication, we're working with the
That's actually
SVAS.
coming up in the next business meeting. So you will see it.
Now you see what about this lag of communication?
Well, because we
Well,
haven't
imagine
had,
adding a person into it now?
we haven't had a business meeting since that whole thing has happened, so.
Yeah.
That'll come up, that, hey, relationships with Sauhegan's really good, keep it up, if you can think of anything that we need to do to involve,
Yeah.
that'll come up in the next business meeting,
Okay,
so. So I'm good, if.
all set?
Yep, so long as that's identified.
Everybody else all set? There are people out in the corridor that haven't said anything.
I'm pretty sure I can speak for everybody that we all back the chief.
Okay.
We're very proud of what she's done and very happy that she's our chief and hope she continues for the rest of her life.
I will tell you,
I have one question real quick before we
Mhm.
Scott, you said you wrote a review for Meredith, correct? If it's true that you never talked to any of us in this room,
How do you know that? Because that is an untrue statement. So you
Okay.
don't know.
you haven't talked to
I'm
me
just-
personally, and I know you haven't talked to the gentleman, a few others.
I'm sorry, I don't have time to talk to 20 different people to put together somebody's review.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just
So I got
asking.
input from
On a
people,
review.
active people on the fire department.
All right, do you have a
at high
question?
level.
Just ask the
My
question.
question is, writing a review, usually it's observed in person. You see how that person is working in that environment to come up with an evaluation. Was any of that done? Because I haven't met you, I know a few others haven't met you, and I haven't seen you around the fire department, so I don't know if you've come in and done it when I just haven't been there or whatnot. But if it's a bad review after 3 years, why blame the chief now? Why not hit her 3 years ago?
Was anybody talk to Scott in this room?
I haven't.
Nope, I haven't.
Anybody in the hall?
No.
So the only one's not here is Gary or?
Gary wrote an email from Michigan. And the reason Gary's not here tonight is because he had a family issue, otherwise he would have been here as
Can
well.
I ask who you talked to?
So I got input from Gary.
That's it.
Gary is the deputy.
But you just said you got input from people in this room, and you did not.
I did not say
He
that.
didn't say that. He did not.
Stop putting words in my mouth.
Yes, you
You
did.
said you talked to
Yeah.
somebody in this room.
Yeah, you did.
No, I did not. I said, I talked to.
I'll tell you
It's
what,
okay.
I'll tell
It's
you
okay.
what.
It's okay.
And I'm not gonna
Tomorrow
keep
you guys
arguing
can watch
with you
it
about
on-
who I talked to.
That's
So I'd
fine.
simmer down.
Right.
I just,
Okay.
You
It's
work-
okay.
I just asked
Shh.
You work for us.
my main
Okay.
question
Hey.
was if the review is done in person, or if it's talking to everybody around that person and coming up with a review that way, based off what they said.
All right, let's just say
I think that,
Scott's responsibility was to do the review.
Yep.
Yep,
He's done it, okay?
okay.
Then
I
that's it.
think the review book for me is closed.
Right.
I'm waiting for Scott's narrative, if he's gonna put one in, I will put mine in, we will sign it, it will go into the files, doesn't matter to me what it says.
Okay,
Anything else for me? I thank you for your time.
this gentleman's good.
Oh,
I'd
Jay,
just like to say that when you guys created this funnel for communication, you actually created a filter. So what happens is only what he wants you guys to hear, will you hear. Only what he wants Meredith to hear, will she hear. So there, you will naturally have a communication problem
But that's, again, your opinion,
there. Right,
Okay.
that will happen.
okay?
and we've
But that's your opinion.
And I think
Please
that will
state it
address-
that way. Your opinion is that there's a filter. What we just finished discussing, and I'm hoping
We
you
saw.
heard,
Yeah, well, I,
is that if the communication isn't coming through, we meet.
I just, as long as we're aware that that can happen, that. and
Of
that
course it can
one or the
happen.
other-
Lots of things
Yep.
can happen.
Yeah, they came up with a couple.
We're just trying to
You know, yeah.
resolve them and make it that everybody's
It's-
pulling
it's
for
a
the
recipe
town.
for disaster when you create a filter like that.
I'm happy with the resolution.
Okay.
All right,
I
good.
think we're good.
Alright.
Otherwise,
Anybody else out there have comments? I don't wanna.
Next week
Okay.
at
I was not able to
8:30 is
find
that
out, but I
COVID?
thought I had, so I apologize.
That's,
I swear.
there
I
are
did.
lots of RSA's. I've read most of them.
But there is,
But I don't commit
it's
them
not
to
a New
memory.
Hampshire RSA, but it is a definition of strong chief and a weak chief. A weak
It's a
chief responds
Massachusetts
through
RSA.
Hey, Mass, don't even
No,
start
Yeah.
talking.
I'm just telling you.
We live in America.
Are we on, we're on for next week at 8:30 for the COVID thing? Is that
Yeah,
I believe so.
my understanding?
I haven't seen the agenda, so.
I
if
have-
that's what it is,
I have a thing from Tim and I, if you want it in advance, or I can bring it next week.
Just email it.
I emailed it to you last week, the
Okay.
identity.
so
Yeah,
you
the
haven't
top,
changed
like-
But
it.
now
Yeah.
I have it in writing and it has Tim's and my signatures on it.
Okay.
perfect.
Do you want me to leave it here or you want it for next week?
Leave it here.
There's one for
Thanks,
each.
The only,
Good
thank
night.
you.
And
Thank
then I
you.
Thank
give you a
you.
copy, because I know you keep making reference to some of the COVID, like, habits and stuff. This gives you, on the back page, the exact criteria that.
And the one piece I had to look up was
Thank you, Meredith.
that critical infrastructure sector,
Yeah.
on who that covers. But just when I received that in the email, I did go in and look so that I could read exactly all the different job descriptions that are
And then it gives
listed.
you the criteria, and the state does say you cannot test yourself out of quarantine. So they would be allowed to come to work with us in certain things, but then they're still quarantined. They go
Right.
home, they don't go to the restaurants, they come to work.
Has the state not provided a guideline?
That is the second
It's
page of the
the-
guideline.
It's the second
No,
page.
you know, like, we saw for the sports, there was that 5-page.
That's it, right there.
It's this, it's
Yeah.
the second
The
page.
state doesn't do anything this brief.
Well, then you,
I have the
yeah,
rest of it.
yeah, it's rather long, but it's this whole thing, but then you click that critical infrastructure sector and it lists all the different jobs and everything else that are in there.
So these are the first two pages, and then that page that you have is the rest of it. And
Yeah,
that-
no,
sorry,
it's-
that's the
I'll
only
go
one I
online
have.
It's very,
and check. I'm
it's
looking
very
for
long.
One of those, it
It's,
was almost like a booklet.
yeah, and that's kind of what this is. When you go on it, I mean, this is like, I think something like 12
Oh, yeah,
pages,
you
something like
can
that.
click any link.
Yeah, and it just keeps going through, and yeah, but it's
And I'm
it's
not
set up
looking-
on their page. You can click a link and shoot to just this page.
I'm not looking for a change of the policy. The policy is what it is. I'm just looking for the exemption or the exceptions for first responders and essential workers. So that's what this addresses. So you can peruse it, and then I'll be ready with questions next Tuesday.
Cool.
Very good.
Thanks, Meredith.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.